Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to the Astrology of August 2026. I'm calling the theme of this month Fate-Bending Stars, and I will show you the laws of physics that support that claim. In August, we're standing at the crossroads of cosmic geometry and personal reinvention, where these laws of physics that are surrounding the two eclipses that we have this month, reflecting back to us this massive opportunity for profound change. Eclipses warp time and space, and that creates powerful timeline and trajectory shifts. So I'm going to go into this brief intro to talk about the ways that these laws apply to everyone of every sign, and I'll give you some other important points to know about this month. We do have the last open window free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods until the very end of the year. So I'm going to get into that, how to align your actions with the natural rhythms for the best outcomes. And then I will go into a deeper layer for each sign, and that will be time-stamped after the intro. We've got a lot to cover this month, so in another browser right now, go to anniehelpsyou.com and click on Unleash to get your August star report written by me that has all the best dates and the most challenging dates of the month. I'm going to give you some dates, but there are so many more things to know if you're trying to align with those natural rhythms. So you can go right now to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, get your August star report so that you have all of the details to align with the astrological weather. Okay, so let's get into what I think is the most important thing to know about this month, which has to do with these time warps, these fate-bending stars, and then we'll go into the other piece there about the open period free from personal planet retrogrades. So there's a story to be told for linear time. We buy into it, we see it. It's obviously occurring on some level, but there are other levels of understanding time. And on those levels, it's not moving in a straight line. It's warping around your evolution. Einstein posited his theory of relativity, which was later proven. And in it, he said that time and space warp around objects of mass. So that's why the Earth has a gravitational field. And when we leave that gravitational field, time is different. So, for example, we've got the Earth, and time and space is warping around the Earth as far out as this gravitational field goes. And then when we leave that field, we're not influenced by that any longer. The greater the object of mass, the more time and space is warped around that object of mass. At eclipse time, the sun, the moon, the Earth, in different lineups for the lunar and the solar eclipse, form an alignment called a syzygy. One of the most awkward words ever, but there it is. It means a vector. And when this alignment occurs, the gravitational fields for all of these objects of mass form this unified, that basically merges their fields, which changes how time and space are. If you pay attention to this, I've been talking about this for years, and it was only last year that it hit me when I was visiting a science museum as to why it happens. Because I always talked about how we can clear a massive amount of karma at eclipse time. And it's eclipse season, but the closer we get to the eclipses, the more you feel this. 4 to 6 weeks before the eclipses, but the closer you get, you feel this alignment occurring. And time and space actually is different. Things that you thought were going to happen 10 years from now sometimes happen right now, for better or worse. Things, you could jump onto a whole different timeline or trajectory where you're here and you're going this way, and then boop, the jostling happens, and well, all of a sudden you're going over this way. These eclipses do that. So the solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo that we have on August 12th, and the Pisces lunar eclipse we have August 27th, 28th at almost 5 degrees of Pisces, these are forming these gravitational shifts where we've got these different storylines going on, and it is rhythmic. So the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle started in March 2025 and goes into early 2028. So every 6-ish months, we have this new set within the Aquarius Leo sub-story that we have going on. And if you think back to early 2008 to the end of 2009 and early 2017 to early 2019, those were the two last times we had this eclipse cycle, in our more recent history. There were themes that happened then, and I will get into what specific types of themes may be occurring for each sign when we get into the timestamp section. But there were themes that were occurring then: Leo, Aquarius, your creativity versus the group, your expression versus your place within a community, what you want and what lights you up versus what the social obligations or expectations are. That's kind of the general themes that we've got of the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle. And so storylines along this have opened up as of March 2025, and every 6 months until early 2028, we're moving along a continuum. So these are rhythmic alignments of gravitational and electromagnetic influence where everything is synchronized in this perfect flow at this perfect time, moving you along a continuum. The Pisces Virgo eclipses have been going since 2024 and will go into 2027. The last times we had those were the beginning of 2015 through the first part of 2017, and then the beginning of 2006 into the first half of 2008. So we had Pisces Virgo, intuition versus logic. We had the unseen versus the seen. We have our inner world and our outer world. We have art versus function. All of these kind of themes are coming back around again, and these can be applied to each of us personally. And then, of course, there's the layer of where these eclipses hit is for each of your signs, which will go into the timestamps, but just as a general story here. So these fate-bending stars are opening up these timelines where our known or perceived time can dissolve away, and things can happen that defy logic and defy known or expected experience. So time moving in a line equals like our logical view, right? So that's not the whole picture, though. We are multi-dimensional beings having a multi-dimensional experience, and these fields of gravitational and electromagnetic influence, the way that they align perfectly at these times, are showing us this multi-dimensional layer of our world, of how we evolve and how we are. So eclipse time is time of massive change. June into July, you're starting to see and feel the hints and maybe the return to some storylines that, had been present in the previous eclipse cycles of something's moving along a continuum. But there's some sort of plan. To me, watching all of this seems like proof of a divine force with some sort of plan that we can use astrology to understand and to have a better quality of experience, but not change. There's a plan, we're seeing the plan, something is happening, and it's synchronized. Just like we can see the golden ratio present in the mean distance between all the planets in our solar system. The Fibonacci sequence is present when we look at everything around us, and we are part of that. There's some sort of plan, there's some sort of sequence, and you kind of get the sense of that occurring and that kind of the hand of the divine at work at these times where there's fated and fate-bending experiences. Something else interesting I always talk about at eclipse times, and this what I'm sharing here, I've never heard anybody talk about this. I've never seen this anywhere. This is an awareness I had when I went to a Cincinnati Science Museum exhibit last summer, and I was standing on this experience that you could see how time and space warp around you as the gravitational object of mass, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh my gosh, the way that I talk about clearing karma and getting on a different trajectory and accessing your highest expression during eclipse time, I always knew that was true because I tracked it and I saw it, but I didn't really know why. And then I knew why. This is my own personal knowing. I'm sharing it with you. This is unique to me. This is my hypothesis that seems to be proven. But something else that I have seen through my own experience that I haven't seen anywhere else that you will watch for it and many of you will see it's true. Glass tends to break at eclipse time. The same way we're having this, electromagnetic influence and this gravitational influence. We have an electromagnetic field around us. That is science. That's not mystical. And in that field, we gather tension, we gather potentials. And the closer and the more tightly woven those potentials are to us, the more they influence us. And the more things get tied up in knots and tense, the more accident prone or the more challenged or stressed we become. So I see glass break a lot around eclipses. And I see that unless anyone's hurt by it, or for some other reason that it's not good. In general, if you break glass in eclipse season, I feel like it's a good sign because it's breaking the tension in your field that can add for smoother and possibly even safer, experiences. Sometimes I see things happen in threes. This is something that was told to me by my teacher, Bridget. She said things tend to happen in threes at eclipse time, even with the transits, that can happen as well. And you may see you break 3 glasses. If 2 glasses break in the house, I've told my family, they get upset at glass breaks. Oh, you know what? It's eclipse season. There you go. Probably there'll be another. Probably it's a good sign. So just kind of look out for this. And I'm explaining the energetics to you because when you understand this and you get it, you will feel it and you will tune in and you will be able to feel the changes in the field when eclipse season starts to deepen. Insomnia, tension, stress, you feel that excitement of change, of the revitalization of change. And sometimes the foreboding, not knowing what form that change is going to take place. And it's true. Sometimes there are very bad things that happen in eclipses, scary things, life-changing things, not in a good way. And it is very stressful. But most of what I see occurs is out of our hands. It's something that is part of some sort of plan that we can't control it. And all we can control or manage is how we experience it through our understanding and our preparation for these changes. But if you've been trying to do something different, trying to have a big shift, trying to have a breakthrough, trying to break out of stagnation, this could be your time. So these rifts in the matrix open up the time-space continuum, and they can cause you to travel on a completely different trajectory and really leap light years ahead in your journey by going through a wormhole or a portal or something that occurs. Sometimes it just happens and you find yourself in a completely different situation. Sometimes some kind of very important perceptual change occurs, either consciously or unconsciously, where you see things differently. You can't unsee it. Now, because you see things differently, there's a different experience immediately just from a perceptual change. So it's not just something physical or obvious that happens at these times. Sometimes it's an internal process that changes how you see everything. Okay, so I could probably go on and on about that, but I think that you get the gist here. Now I want to talk about something else that's really dominating this month and very great importance, and that has to do with the window free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. I always track these so that we see where in the astrological rhythm we are. August 8th through August 30th, we are free from the personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. August 8th is the end of the previous Mercury retrograde period. A full Mercury retrograde period includes the shadow period that leads up to the retrograde and the shadow period that lasts after the retrograde. So that ends, we're clear, August 8th. And then after August 30th, or on the 31st, depending on your time zone, it will be close, to that time, Venus retrograde shadow period begins. Now, Venus isn't retrograde until October, and then it goes into November. But because Venus is a slower moving planet than Mercury, the shadow periods with its retrogrades are longer. We will talk a lot about Venus retrograde, September, October, November, into December. I'm not going to get too much into it now, except to let you know that if you're trying to do something long-term, locked in, commitment, legal things, big purchases, big sales, big announcements, launches of life dream and big things that you want to be in effect for a really long time, big moves. These dates, August 8th through August 30th, will hold less mischief from the retrogrades. It doesn't mean you can't do any of those things any other time of the year, of course, obviously. And sometimes there's a flow that we have to follow that, again, may be out of our hands. But what I love about this period of time is that we've got eclipses that are bringing information where we have to make decisions, And they're coinciding with a time that's more free and clear for making those long-term decisions. So you may do something very big at this time. And if you're trying to do something big this year, this may be your best window until the very end of the year. And even then, there are some things I don't like about that window for some launches when we do get there at the end of the year. So, follow your flow. Maybe your timeline will be escalated and you will be able to launch. Trust your individual flow. If you're not ready, just hold out and the stars will align again at some other point. But it is very important to know that the tides are very massively going out at this time. So you standing on the shore with your little boat of dreams or your message in a bottle, anything you put out on the tides now will go far and wide for a very long time. Then once the tides shift, it will be better for experimentation, business as usual, editing, going back over things, doing things behind the scenes, reconsidering things, trying things on, doing things less permanent, more flexible. That will be the energy, as we get into September. But this month is all, moving into this, this launch phase where you are the spider actively weaving webs all over the place so that when the retrograde sets in, and it will be long, and we'll get another Mercury retrograde after that and all that, you can be just sitting in your web and letting stuff come to you because you've done so much work during this nice open time. Okay, so we're going to go into the timestamp sections now. Timestamps are going to be, well, actually before that, just a couple of quick announcements. Go to anniehelpsyou.com in another browser right now and click on Unleash to get that August star report, because we've got so much stuff to cover with the eclipses and the open window that you will want a list of the great dates. And we do have quite a few this month, but there are some salty ones too. So I have it all there. Click on Unleash, you'll get the August star report. Also, if you want to learn astrology with me, you can see more there. And if you would like to see what the gravitational fields of the outer planets' movements are occurring for big storylines in your life over the next year or much more, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie the letter B Clarity.com to get your personalized video reports of the outer planets and how they're affecting you. Okay, so now let's go to the timestamps. You can find the timestamps on YouTube in the chapters. Sometimes they're wrong because YouTube aligns them, but if you look in the notes under the video or the pinned post under the YouTube video, I have put them there myself, and those are correct because I've checked them. Podcast listeners, in the past, I was having some trouble with my timestamps on different venues, but if you click on the chapters tab, you will find timestamps on all the podcasts now. Okay, so I'll see you in the timestamp version. Watch for your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign. They will all have different layers of the eclipse placements and everything else that we're going to talk about there. Hello, Aries friends. Okay, so this is your Aries ears only special segment where we'll look into a deep dive for Aries sun, Aries moon, Aries rising. What does this picture look like for you? We will get into where those eclipses are hitting for you as well, but we've got so many more things to talk about besides that. Let's look at the general energetic profile of the movement of the planets. In this first part of the discussion, I'm going to group some long-term and short-term planets together, and then we'll kind of sort of siphon out. But look at this wall of fire. That is awesome news for Aries and Sagittarius placements, having all of this Leo energy. For the short term, we've got Hygeia zipping through Leo, the sun zipping through. Part of fortune will be very fast, so we're not going to talk too much about that. Transiting South Node for longer term storylines, and Jupiter new to Leo just at the end of June. Very exciting for Aries placements. I have Aries rising, so I get especially zippy when I do this reading because, I'm seeing all of these potentials for all the Aries placements, including myself, which is exciting. When we have Leo transits, we have a 120-degree angle being made. Planets of the same element, in this case fire, will speak the language that is most coherent and understandable to each other. So it's speaking the language of passion, of action, of excitement, of, I always describe Leo energy as the feeling of having your cells lifted like a giant sunflower lifting towards the sun. The things that bring you that level of joy are the short-term and long-term transits that are occurring right now. You may notice if you pay attention to around the end of July into August every year, Aries will tend to go through this creativity cycle, and you can start to plan around this, knowing that, and even carve time for it, because planets that move through the sign of Leo also move through Aries' house of Leo. So we always get a double with everything that goes on because we have a natural chart. So whenever planets are moving through a sign, they're also moving through that corresponding house because Leo rules the fifth house. So we've got the house Leo being activated. We've got the sign of Leo being activated through all these different transits. So we're looking at where we're going to get our vitality for our health. Hygeia is giving us that. The sun is showing us any issues with our creative space. Oh, by the way, the fifth house also pertains to a little thing called true love, romance, dating. That zest or lack thereof in your relationship is ruled partly in this space. And children, the spark of conception of a creative project or a baby, child rearing, child care, working with kids, looking at life through the lens of a childlike wonder. That is really like this Leo energy. And that's really what's going on now. So everybody's been going through, since we've been having the Aquarius Leo eclipses over these years, everybody's been going through this since early 2025 and going into early 2028, since the Leo eclipse cycle started. We're all going through this questioning of what is it that we really love, that we really want to do more of, that if we could just do more of that, we'd be so much happier and healthier. So everyone's going through that, but Aries is going through a double layer and level of that. So we've got those questions. Like, what you're doing stifling? Do you still have joy in it? Is there a way to add more joy to it if you can't get out of it? Is there a way to start sprinkling in other things that bring you joy on the side? So these are short-term questions that are extra important this month, leading to this long-term story while Jupiter is there and while the nodes are still doing their thing until the 2028, of this bigger question of how you can have more joy in your life, how you can have more love in your life, how you can, have more childlike wonder in your life, bucket list things, passions, pleasures, hobbies, all of those things. Now, if you are a person who is driven to do things that you like or that may or may not be good for you to excess, these are also questions that may come up with this, because the fifth house rules sort of these habits that can run into even an addictive quality, or that can be brought to excess. And with Jupiter here in this sign, you may be having to ask those questions and tackle those topics, but you can get a lot of insight now from the way that the planets are moving. So we've got all of that going on. And then Mercury is going to join into the Leo party, say, watch me cook for a very short period of time in this month. August 10th through August 25th, Mercury will be zipping ahead in that nice wide open space of stars that I talked about in an introduction. So all the things that you reconsidered with your family, with your home, with your housing, your internal reflective process that occurred at the end of June into July, here lingering a little bit in the beginning of August, is going to move into action, move into conversation, move into communication, move into expression as Mercury joins this party. Okay, so we're going to have that going on. Until around August 11th, August 12th, we also have Mars moving through Gemini, which is a favorable angle for Aries. Mars is how we use our energy, and it's moving through the sign of Gemini. So that's a 60-degree angle of possibility. This can have you interested in a lot of different things. It can have you being very gung-ho, maybe the most gung-ho you've been about writing in a long time, maybe for a couple of years if you are a writer or if you've been thinking about it. Also, of course, moving through our third house, which is ruled by Gemini, because everything is the double-double with Aries, as I always like to say. And yeah, there's a way of using our energy that is very mutable at this time. See, Aries is a cardinal sign. It moves in a finite direction, usually forward. But Gemini is an upward spiral. It does this a little over here, a little over there, a little over there, a little over there. And it likes to get its fingers in a lot of pudding pies. So you may be very diverse in your interest range at this time. You may be feeling very, well, even obsessive. Yeah, we'll just say it. Mars rules this obsessive, what is one of the planets that rules the energy of obsession. And so you may be really taking something to a very strong degree. You may be interacting with your cousins, your relatives, your, aunts and uncles and nephews and all of that, because this house also rules that. You may be gung-ho on buying a car or selling a vehicle or buying a new device. If you need a new device, this is actually probably the best series of time in the whole year for upgrading your communication or your transportation, August 8th through August 30th. And there's a little wiggle room either way. It's I like this range, but there's a little wiggle room before and after here. So if you've got to make those upgrades, this month can very much be about upgrading, and that may give you great excitement, all this fifth house stuff, So yeah, really consider that. If you've got the money to do it, you're feeling froggy, it may be time to jump into better communication. Or you may be interacting with people, communicating, or like I said, writing, speaking, teaching, things like that. Venus is also in Virgo now for a little while longer, until August 6th. So really like the first week, you're asking the questions about your work. You're asking the questions about, your health. You're trying to put money in the places of your future work experience. Maybe you're doing some investing in your daily experience. If you're self-employed, you could be investing a lot of time or money into those projects. And you may have had your nose to the grindstone a bit with that. And things are going to move on here pretty soon, but you have a little bit more time to sort of, see what has to be done. And if you have to spend a little money in that first week, or a lot if you have it and it's okay for you, even though it's not August 8th yet, there's, like I said, there's a little wiggle room here, but something involving your health, your wellness, your pets even. This is a great month to give a pet a forever home, especially those dates between August 8th and 30th. Sometimes pets don't wait until there's a nice convenient time, do they? They just show up. But, this is a nice range of a long-term commitment and relationship. And speaking of which, relationships with people are going to come very much to the forefront for the rest of August and into September as Venus moves into Libra. This is your opposing sign. This is your house of relationships. So you may be really looking for accord, working well with people, finding perfect helpers. If you need to find a perfect long-term helper for a project that you're doing, or for normal home stuff or work stuff or business stuff or anything, this may be one of your best times now into September to find the perfect person for whatever you need, and also to heal relationships and to have accord. Sometimes in opposition, because Venus will be opposing these Aries placements, that accord may be hard won. So you may notice that you have to do a little work to get to the gold, but there it will be. Okay, so let's just talk now about the eclipses more. The 5th house and the 11th house and the sign of Leo and the sign of Aquarius are what are being doubly highlighted for the Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle. And of course, remember back to early 2017 to early 2019, early 2008 to end of 2009. In what ways was your life affected by children or romance or passions or hobbies or creative efforts or community, which is the 11th house, or internet-based projects or futuristic types of work or community-based experiences? So there's something that's getting up-leveled in these areas. A cycle is ending, could be bittersweet. A new cycle is beginning. Maybe if you have kids, they're going through a different cycle now of their independence or their milestones. And all the same thing with your relationships. And also you finding your voice within a group and you finding your own unique expression and room for that, where it doesn't have to be sort of modulated or modified by the group. So there's this push and pull with this eclipse cycle. And because this eclipse is in Leo, it is going to be at the most favorable angle in all of astrology for Aries. So all of the Aries friends can feel extra goodies from this eclipse. That's August 12th, 20 degrees of Leo. But if you're between 15 and 25 degrees of Aries, so that's going to be around August 6th through August 16th, the sun doesn't move into Aries the same day every year, which is why there's 2 or 3 days on either side of those estimates where you could be in the zone. Okay, so I say August 6th through 16th. It could be August 3rd through August 19th, somewhere in there. But if you know your degrees, the closer to 20 degrees, the more you may get a special kiss from this eclipse, and the more it may be especially obvious. Or if you have any Aries placements in that zone, or any Sag placements for that matter, if you know your chart, you will get an extra kiss from this, and it may be more obvious. But if you're not in that zone, don't worry. The goodness and blessings are still there as present possibilities, and it's still very, very usable. You can use this to take action and make your big decisions and launch something. If you're trying to launch something, engagements, weddings, ooh, that's really great for this time. Doing stuff with your kids, launching a creative-based project or announcing it. All of that is fantastic for this window. Now on August 27th and 28th, we've got that lunar eclipse at almost 5 degrees of Pisces. That's accentuating the 12th and 6th house for us. That's where those eclipses will be. And this, as I alluded to before, has to do with your inner world versus your outer world. The mundane, which is the Virgo, versus the spiritual, which is the Pisces. The functional, which is the 6th house in Virgo, versus the romantic and the idealistic and the artistic, which is the 12th house, you know, your physical health and your mental and emotional health. So these are the other layers that are coming up. So new storylines in your inner and outer worlds are coming up in these in this eclipse cycle. In recent times, Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, and Pluto have all changed signs. In a very short amount of time, these planets have changed signs, and that means they're in a different place in your chart. If you want to have personalized video reports made by me as to how those outer planets are affecting you now, up to even 20 years into the future for a Pluto transit, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com, to find my outer planet transit report. You can also find it at AnnieHelpsYou.com. If you scroll down, there will be a link to it. And definitely go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and click on Unleash to get your free August star report. For late degree Aries friends, so birthdays like April 15th through the rest of the sign, then stick around. Or if you have 23 degree Aries placements through the rest of the sign, stick around for the next report, which will be Taurus, because your late degree friends will benefit from both readings. So if you're time stamping to another sign now, I'll see you there, or I'll see you in my next report. Bye for now. Hello, Taurus friends. Okay, so let's look at our Taurus specific viewpoint now and see what the lens of the stars is pointing to as a major focus for your experience at this time. This is for Taurus sun, moon, rising. If you're a late degree Taurus, so I like to call you Tauranize, birthdays like May 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Taurus placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you listen straight through to the next report for Gemini, which will run right after this one, because you late degree friends will benefit from both readings. All right, so let's start out. We've got a fire party. We've got Hygeia and the sun a little ways into the month Mercury, moving into Leo. For the short-term transits, then we have Jupiter new to Leo here until the middle of 2027 now, and transiting Leo South Node, which will be influencing in one way or another until into 2028. So you've got short-term and long-term transits accentuating your 4th house of home and family. The fire energy is bringing a lot of passion, possibly some arguments, possibly ego things. You know, this is a clash in a way because it is a square, but it is ripe ground for breakthroughs. Sometimes people take the word clash to mean something bad's going to happen, and that is not always true. You can have an argument, and that could be considered something bad, but you can also have a boiling readiness for change. And really a square angle, if I could just define it in one sentence, is a boiling readiness for change. That's not necessarily a bad thing, although it is sometimes stress or something annoying that's a nuisance that drives us there. So you're looking for more change or profound change in your home, in your family, in your housing, in your inner world, with your sacred space, with your boundaries. And Jupiter wants to give you impetus. The sun wants to give you the zest. Mercury wants to give you the information, and Hygeia wants you to be proactive. And the transiting South Node wants to show you where your past patterns are leading to your current circumstances. So you have all that going on with a chance to break free. Now, the dates August 8th through the 30th, as I told you, are really great for breaking free. If you've got to make a big decision, if you've got to leave a situation, if you want to buy, sell a house, if you want to move, this is one of the best open placements for those type of things, and you may be ready to do that. Alternatively, this could just manifest as creativity from the Leo perspective in your home, where you're trying to set up your space where you can just have some creative time. You might need to make some purchases. This month is great for that as well. You might need to argue a little with your family to carve out some of your space. But whatever it is, you're setting your boundaries and you are establishing just a better home situation for yourself. Mars is moving through for a little longer this month. You will feel that influence, and it is activating your money house. So you may be doing different things to make money besides just one thing, because Taurus people have Gemini on the second house, and Taurus people tend to be steadfast and sometimes can make money one way for a really long time. But there is that part of you that really likes the diversity in your earning experience. You like to not put all of your eggs in one basket. And so you might find, especially at this time, you have an opportunity for the first time in like 2 years, that you will be able to really diversify your income and, think of ideas that are creative, maybe even involving writing and communicating to earn more money or to streamline your finances in some way. Venus is moving through Virgo. Very quickly it will get out of there. But either way, it's accentuating your 6th house of health and pets and animals. It's a great time to give an animal a forever home, especially August 8th through the 30th. If your animal doesn't come in neatly in that little time frame and you know it's yours, of course you got to get it anyway. These are just guidelines. They're not definites. And, there is a little wiggle room on either end of this time frame too. You may be investing some money in your health, in your wellness, in your daily experience. You may want to make your daily experience better, maybe less stressful, maybe more interesting, and maybe more connected with other people. Venus moving through Libra is going to have you wanting to spend more time with others, have accord, make time for your family and people that are close to you, and will be really, really good for work relationships. If you have to have communications in your workspace, this could be a perfect time for that. Okay, so the eclipse that happens on August 12th, this solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo, this eclipse cycle started in early 2025, is going every 6 months until early 2028. We're mid-flow here. There's a lot in the works, and this is occurring in this 4th house of home and family, as we saw all this other Leo stuff, and your work and your place out in the world. So the massive transformation that is occurring for Taurus has to do with your home work life, your work-life balance. And, this could be actually triggering a move for work or triggering a new home because of work that you got, or something being shuffled around with home and family. For fun, understanding, and learning, think back to early 2017 through early 2019 when we had this last. And if you're old enough, think back to early 2008 through the end of 2009. In what ways were your home and family and housing and your inner world and your outer world and your place in the world changed in that time? These are really important considerations. They not only help link you into the universal rhythms, the natural rhythms, but they also give you understanding about the cyclical nature, and understanding what lessons you learned last time and which lessons you missed can give you insight into what it is you're supposed to be doing this time around. If something bad happened in those times, it doesn't necessarily mean that something bad will happen again, because there were different stars in those periods of time than there are now. But we do tend to see big endings and major new beginnings. And we do tend to see like a major energy shift where it's being taken from one place and put in another place. Even those of you who are retired or don't have to work, your place out in the world is not just defined by the money you make. The 10th house is the house of fame. And people can know you in your community. They can know you at a club. They can know you other things you do, which may or may not have anything to do with your money, your income, or your business. So, there are definitely ways, obviously, that this can manifest, regardless of what your employment status is or your employment interest is. But if you are interested in work and career, very positive changes, very new long-term possibilities can be opening now. This polarity of the 4th house and the 10th house also has to do with mother, father, parental energies, whether it's you as the parent or you as the kid. And so there may be notable things that go on with your parents or with your parenting. I was talking about earlier, those angles are the angles of transformation. They are breakthrough angles. So they are tension angles, but they are birthing angles. Similar to how the birthing process is not easy, but it is worth it. And it is something like that. You're birthing something new in your inner world and your outer world. And that is what Taurus is going through at this time. Now, when we add in the layer of the lunar eclipse at almost 5 degrees of Pisces, August 27th, 28th, depending on your time zone, we think back to, 2024 is when this started, and what kind of changes have been going on there. I'll tell you the arenas here in a second. Then 2015, the beginning of 2015 to the first part or the first half of 2017, and then the beginning of 2006 to the first half of 2008. What kind of changes were happening in your love life, with your family, with your kids, with your passion projects, you versus your place within a group, your own creative interests versus what was better for the family or better for the community or better for others, better for the world. So finding the place where you belong, where you feel like they're speaking your language and you can make a difference and you can be united on a mission with others versus your individual passions and creativity and the ways that they can be stifled in the group or the ways that they can be supported in the group, sort of this bouncing back and forth with understanding this. But the eclipse itself is going to happen in your 11th house. And that is going to be some sort of ending, some ending having to do with a friendship or a social circle or an internet-based project or something having to do with a group that you're a part of. And of course, with the ending usually becomes the new beginning as well. So there's something that's being phased out here. And you will see how that manifests. There's one thing I wanted to clarify about Venus. Venus is leaving the sign of Virgo and moving into the sign of Libra early in the month. But it's like you're getting an extended period of time with the energy of Venus in Virgo, because as Venus moves out of the sign of Virgo into the sign of Libra, it moves into the house of Virgo for Taurus. Well, I mean, it's just the house of Virgo, period, for everybody. But you have Libra representing your 6th house of Virgo. So you do have kind of a double story there happening. Okay, so in another window browser now, go to anniehelpsyou.com. Click on Unleash to get your August star report with all the best and worst dates of the month with a lot of detail into understanding what the month is like. On that same page, you can find a link to my outer planet transit reports, or you can go directly to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B clarity.com, to understand how Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter and your Pluto and Uranus, how they've changed signs in recent times, how that's affecting your chart for the very long term. You can get personalized video reports made by me at anniebclarity.com. If you are moving on to the Gemini report, I will see you there. If you are time stamping over to another one, I will see you there. If you are done for now, I'll see you in the next report. Hello, Gemini friends. Welcome to the segment that's just for you, where we dive into a deeper layer of the August astrology for Gemini sun, rising, moon, and the other Gemini placements you're listening for. So I'm going to talk about some short-term transits, ones that really light up this month. They breeze through quickly, but they bring some very important themes, and you will notice them. And we'll talk about the longer-term transits and the cycles, including those eclipses. The first most notable thing is this wall of fire. And Mercury, very soon into the month, will join that Leo party. So short-term Mercury, Hygeia, and the Sun breezing through, new into Leo. Jupiter now will be there for a year until the end of July of 2027 and transiting South Node in Leo that has been lurking around since, 2025. We'll go till 2028, kind of bringing some stories in the backdrop. So we've got a lot of this energy of creative forces, of our passions, of that sparks us, that gets us worked up and excited and makes us feel like we're lifting to the sky like a sunflower. And this can have to do with true love. It's the energy of true love and dating and romance. It's also has to do with the conception of a human child, or conception of a creative baby, and the whole flow of the process of creativity, whether it's a creative project or a child, and the child rearing, and all of these things related to kids are all the essence of this short and long-term energy that is lighting up. So for Gemini, all of this makes a great angle of opportunity, 60 degrees, usually 60-degree angles. They can bring some things nicely into your lap, but a lot of times there are invitations that you have to do something with. That's what I call the ingredients on a pie aspect, where you want to make a peach pie and all the ingredients are there, but you can't show up in the kitchen and say, "Where's my peach pie?" because you have to actually do something with them. And that's what's going on with the creativity sector. Very enhanced in this short term now. Storylines that are long term. Eclipse also joining this fire party, bringing it up 20 degrees of Leo. We'll talk more about that later. I just want to include it in the Leo discussion here. And we'll go deeper into that in a second. But 20 degree of Leo solar eclipse on August 12th. Eclipse season having already started in June, brewing into July, getting stronger until this point, and taking a little while to phase out. So what is it that is your passion? What is it that gets you worked up? And how does this relate to your expression? Because all of this is happening for Gemini in the third house of Gemini. So this is very much about how you express your joy and your creativity. And you may be ready to put some money or other power or investment behind your creative forces. Gemini people tend to be wordsmiths, tend to be charming and good with words. Of course, we could have different aspects in our chart that could go against that, or to other different placements, but usually Geminis are not at a loss for words, and they can string them together pretty effectively. So how you communicate with others and how that's getting you what you want and helping other people to get what they want may be a big topic that's coming up. This also can have to do with an upgrade of your communication through getting devices. This area also rules transportation. Could be an upgrade of your transportation. It could even be an upgrade to your physical mobility. If you are mobility impaired, you could get some sort of mechanism that assists you with being more mobile, or you could heal and be more mobile from an injury. But it's very much about movement. It's very much about excitement. It's very much about the creative spark manifesting into sharing. If you have to make a big purchase, I love August 8th through 30th, some of the best times of the entire year for making a big purchase, big sale, something like that. Because you're free of the Mercury and Venus retrograde mischief. No shadow periods in that period of time, just really free and clear. And it makes it a little bit easier to look into the future, to see what you want to create, and to make purchases that align for a long-term plan. Okay, so I suppose while we're on the topic of Leo and this third house energy, we may as well just get deeper into that eclipse discussion. Whenever we talk about eclipses, we are talking about the signs that eclipses are in. And this is the solar eclipse at 20 degrees. As I mentioned before, this is this Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle, because they're always in a polarity. Okay. It has been going on every 6 months since March 2025 and will continue into early 2028. So we're mid-process here. Something's been moving along in these departments. Could even involve education, taking in of information. We'll get more into that in a second. But something is ongoing in this process. The last time we went through this was early 2017 through early 2019. And before that was early 2008 to the end of 2009. So this idea of sharing information is very important. Third house and ninth house have to do with mundane information and spiritual information, large bodies of information that get distilled down into usable information. That's ninth house to third house. Lofty goals in higher education, and also just research and editing and, speaking plainly. All of the types of speech and communication and education are located within this polarity. So look to see the ways that you've been taking information in and putting information out. Are you getting ready to teach or showcase your lifetime of wisdom? Are you wanting to write a book or publish something? Are you wanting to express yourself through a podcast or through some other way where you're verbally communicating? Are you ready to broaden your horizons? Immigration, things like that. Travel, long distance travel, different countries, different cultures. That's what's being aspected here. Now, while the eclipse itself is in this third house, we can't ever look at an eclipse alone without looking at its polarity, because there's often a shuffling around of energy. And that's why I'm bringing in the ninth house as well. So just kind of look for that and see what's been going on. This could be one of your best months to start an education program, to finish an education program, to go deeper into that, to put in applications, to research that, and to make commitments along those lines. If you're wanting to move or try on living in a different country, this is one of the best months to do that as well. So if you want to go someplace to see if you like it, to see if you want to do something permanent, this could be a great window, especially August 8th through 30th, but really the whole month, to try something on and see if you want to commit. Okay, before we get to the other eclipse story, I want to bring in Mars, because Mars has been moving through Gemini since June 29th. It's your sign. Every 2-ish years, you get to have Mars in your sign for a couple months. Unless there's a retrograde cycle, then it could be longer. But as of August 12th, it's going to move along. But while it's still in your sign, let's talk about the ways this can influence and accentuate what we've been talking about with these polarities accentuated by the eclipses, because Mars in Gemini, your sign, relates specifically, Mars is how you use your energy, having impetus, inspiration, motivation, drive, resources, obsession even, to put into the third and ninth house storylines that are building and growing as these transits progress. Again, I come back to the idea of writing. It doesn't have to be the only medium of expression, but if you are a writer or want to be, or have to do some writing projects or hire someone for that, Mars in Gemini is amazing for this. Mars in Gemini is also going to make you more scattered than usual, so you might get a little break from yourself after August 12th when that energy tones into a more cardinal direction, which is Cancer, and gets you more focused inwardly. And that is what's going to happen. And when it gets there, it's also going to light up your house of money, right? So as the month progresses, you're going to see this drive, this impetus, this motivation go towards your financial security, your financial stability, your financial consciousness. And you'll have until September 29th of Mars lighting this area up for you. And as we see from the dates here, at least a few weeks of that will be when you're completely free from the personal planet retrogrades. So if you've got to take action on your finances, if you want to figure out how to make money, if you want to start a business, if you want to launch a business, if you want to get a new job, if you want to make a lateral movement, do something important in your work or with spending, Mars is going to give you that impetus to do that and put your focus there. Now, this August 30th line is not, like I said, a very firm line. There is a lot of usable energy after August 30th, but you have to begin to know that we're getting into the Venus shadow. We'll talk more about that in the September report and beyond. And I do a lot of resources online about this. You can just search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde, and you'll find I have videos, I have shorts, I have blogs, a lot. And it's also in my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. I go into my to-do list and my to-avoid list and my guidelines on which to base actions in Venus retrograde in that book. So, you might want to become friends with Venus retrograde, however you do it, to understand these energies better that are pending. But for right now, all movements are go. Venus is spending a little more time moving through Virgo, and as it does, it's continuing to light up your fourth house of home and housing. and real estate and family. And Venus there may bring some additional harmony to that space. There may be some acts of service that have to be done within the family, maybe some compromises being made to get that harmony, but it's kind of a sweet transit if you've been having some trouble at home or in your housing situation, that Venus can bless that area. Which brings us to our final discussion topic, which is the Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle. So we've been in process with this since the second half of 2024. It's going until the first part of 2027. So we are getting closer to a close with this storyline that has been going on, and it involves your home and your work, your inner world and your outer world, your family and home and real estate, and your work, your career, your business, your place out in the world. Mother, father figures, you as a mother, father figure, logic versus intuition, action versus receptivity. This polarity of Cancer to Capricorn, which are the signs that rule the 4th and 10th house, but are accentuated in the Gemini chart by the Pisces Virgo eclipses, are having something going on. There's a lot of changes going on for Gemini since the second half of 2024 that involve your place in the world and your place in the home and what that looks like. And there's more change ahead. So you're moving into the next part of that cycle. The last time we had this go on was the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017. And prior to that, the beginning of 2006 to the first half through the first half of 2008. So you can think back to what was going on during those times. Did you move? Did you buy a new house? Did you get new roommates? Did you have new family members get added in? Did you get a new job? Did something go on with your mom or dad? Did you become a mom or dad? You know, these kinds of milestones are the ones that tend to come with these houses being aspected, and you will see more of that to come. We've had recent changes of all the outer planets, Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and of course Jupiter now very recently. And we can talk about some of that in the charts, and I do. But if you want a deep dive into what these outer planets, these long-term mega themes are going on in your chart through personalized video reports, go to AnnieBClarity.com. Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. And you can get a free star report for August with all the sweet and salty dates of the month when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and click on Unleash. That is a free service. You can also learn astrology with me, and you can see that at AnnieHelpsYou.com. I love to offer free education. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I've been on YouTube for 14 of those. But I do really appreciate when you take a moment to check out my paid offerings. Most of my work in the world is free. And when those who value my free work make purchases of my paid offerings, it keeps an energetically sustainable circuit flowing that allows me to continue keeping attention on this part of my expression. I do have other passions that are increasingly beckoning me down different paths, but I do really enjoy doing this as well. So I do appreciate when you help me make it sustainable. If you are a Gemini who is a late degree, so 23 degrees or later, or your birthday is June 15th through the rest of the sign, stick around for 1 second from now. I'm going to start the Cancer report, and that's going to be relevant for you late degree Gemini friends too. If you're time stamping to another section, I'll see you there. If you're done for now, look out for my other reports and go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash, and you will never miss anything from me there. All right, I'll see you in the next report. Hello, Cancer friends. Okay, so welcome to the segment that's just for you as we dive into a deeper layer of the astrology of August, and one that is very personal and specific for Cancer Sun, Cancer Moon, Cancer Rising. So I'm going to talk about some short-term aspects, the ones that breeze through, don't last very long, but you really feel them, and some of the things that are working a longer angle. And then, of course, we'll talk about those eclipses, where they're heading for you. So the first thing that is very noticeable, of course, is this wall of fire. Hygeia and the Sun are breezing pretty quickly through the sign of Leo. Jupiter just recently there, will be there for another year until next July. And transiting South Node has been lurking around in or near there and will continue to be influencing there in some way or another for a while to come, into 2028. And all of these, oh, actually, one more. Mercury, very soon into the month, around August 10th, will join this fire party. And all of it is lighting up the second house of money for Cancer. So this could be a very big money month. Income, big purchases, and as I mentioned in the intro, if you have to do something big, you're going to be free from the mischief of the retrogrades. We can do anything, anytime during the year, regardless of retrogrades or direct movement, of course. But the more you track this, the more you will see that there is influence. And it is a little bit easier to do big things that you want to last for a longer time without the influence of those personal planet retrogrades or the shadow periods. So that August 8th through August 30th, there is some wiggle room on either end of that, but this is when it is most clear. Maybe some of the best times to make some big purchases for Cancer, especially, I mean, it's good for all the signs to have this window, but specifically, this is your kind of, we'll call it a house of bling, items of, expensive nature, important purchases. It could be basic things as well, but if you've got to make a big purchase that really matters, or a big sale, this could be a month to do it. If you want to put some money, investment into your passions, your Leo energy represents your passions, your creativity. Maybe you're getting ready to invest in yourself at this time. From being an investor for a very long time in one thing or another, or many things, I've learned that really the greatest investment is in ourselves. If we invest in our capacity to enjoy our lives while also being able to earn money, then that investment will continue to pay off. And sometimes we can have more say in that than we can in some other investments. So you may be finding that at this time. You may be ready to put some money behind what makes you happy and invest in monetizing your passions. But either way, there's a lot of focus on the material part of your life. Now, one end of the coin is these expensive items, luxury items even, but it definitely could include necessities, and it definitely can be the other side of the coin, which is environmental pursuits. You could be investing in, getting more off the grid, or you could be investing in, something that makes things more sustainable for you. There's a sustainability focus at this time as a possibility as well. And on the topic of making those type of purchases, like for transportation or communication, as the Sun moves and Mercury move along, they will get into Virgo this month. And Virgo accentuates your third house, which is ruled by Gemini, which rules all of those information, transportation types of things. So you've got this flow from the passion into the practice as the month goes on. And Venus is in that area right from the beginning of the month. It was already there in July. So there's something about, again, money, right? Because Venus rules the second house. There's money, there's finances, there's worthiness, financial consciousness. There's possibly something involving your romantic relationship and communication and earning. And this third house, where the energy is moving towards a deeper storyline as the month progresses, is also having to do with relatives, like your aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings. So you may notice some information and some energy moving there. Now from August 12th to September 29th, you're going to have Mars in Cancer. The last time Mars was in Cancer was when Mars was in retrograde, and we had an exceedingly, it was a couple of years ago, almost now, we had an exceedingly long experience of Mars in Cancer, because Mars spent a longer time there because of the retrograde process. So you haven't had that cycle come back until now, around August 12th through September 29th. Mars rules impetus, and Mars rules Aries, which is a fire energy. And so there is this fiery component. And as I always say, when the fire hits the water what can we do here? Either the water puts out the fire, or the fire stirs the water into action. And that's probably what's going to be more likely. As August progresses into September, you're going to be going into a phase of action-oriented decisions, and for your focus. And so a good bit of that time, at least, is going to be with the planets completely direct. So you're entering this phase of action, and you'll be feeling that. Sometimes we get motivated because of things that are a nuisance, and sometimes we get motivated because of things that are inspiring. But either way, the motivation will very likely come from any of you. And it could be on any topic, but something that will be highlighted is your health. Your health, your wellness, your physical body, getting back in touch with that, or better touch with, symptoms and exercise and vitality and things like that. And you may find that you have more energy, or if you have symptoms where you don't have more energy, you may have more impetus to figure out why. So overall, I would say this month is one of great incentive for a Cancer. This is of great motivation, of great zest, and lots of passions flaring. Of course, that could always be the shadow side, egos and arguments and things like that. But even if there's a little bit of that, just overall, if you've been feeling lethargic, you may suddenly spring to life at this time. Okay, now let's get into these eclipses, these crazy changes that could be coming, this cycle of expansion and clearing out and evolution that in some ways is linear and in some ways is cyclical, but hopefully moving with this, in this upward spiral. So that first eclipse we have is August 12th, and that is going to be the solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo. That financial discussion that we had before, now when we add the eclipse into it, it's a solar eclipse, new beginnings. There's another layer of new beginnings with your own financial sustainability and solvency. Now, the polarity that's being worked from March 2025, every 6 months coming up to consciousness very strongly, but always working in the backdrop still into early 2028, has to do with my money versus other people's money, meaning your money versus other people's money. So my stuff and other people's stuff. That's the polarity that's being worked for the houses that are being hit by this eclipse cycle. So you'll see this kind of flip-flopping of energy and resources, taking energy away from a certain area, putting energy in another area. A good example of how an eclipse cycle like this can run now is there's an inheritance. So the money comes from the 8th house. 8th house money, and goes into the 2nd house, your financial access, your financial income, your financial picture. There could be people supporting you, investing in you. So the 8th house, the source of investment, going towards your individual endeavor, maybe your creative endeavor like we talked about. The 8th house can also be a loan. Okay, so there could be the loan that comes from the 8th house into the 2nd house where you make that big purchase, as I was talking about. So you can see there's just this energetic flow from the sources of money. It could be anything: job, sweepstakes, finding it, investments, borrowing, capital, credit, all of that stuff, feeding into something in your sustainability. So that's the direction of the flow more during this part of the cycle. But sometimes it's not so neat and clean, and sometimes you may be merging more with other people's money through spousal connections, through business partners, through family money. So that's the storyline though, and you will see more of that. And if you think back to early 2017, early 2019, and back further to early 2008 to the end of 2009, what was going on then? Were you merging resources with other people? Were you becoming more autonomous and independent? Was there a little bit of both? So you'll see those similar storylines progressing. And again, if something bad happened in those times, it doesn't necessarily mean that the same thing will happen now. because there were different stars than there are now. This is a set of themes that, yes, can come back up again. But, I just don't want you to worry that everything that happened then is the same thing that happens now, because the energy manifests in different ways. But if you think back to lessons that you learned or didn't learn at that point, it can help direct using this energy more consciously now. Okay, so on August 27th or 28th, depending on your time zone, we've got that lunar eclipse at almost 5 degrees of Pisces. And this is activating that Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that has been working your 3rd and 9th house since the last part of 2024. Every 6 months, something's going on there. So you notice I talked about short-term energy as the short-term planets get into Virgo. They're accentuating this. The long-term planets with the eclipses are activating information coming in, information going out. Writing, publishing, teaching. So this one is a lunar eclipse, and it's occurring in this 9th house. And even though it's officially in the 9th house, we always have to look to both ends of the polarity for manifestations, because they tend to work in tandem. Just like you don't go on a seesaw on your own and expect to get very far, these energies are always working in tandem, and we can see the duality that's intrinsic in the human experience when we look at the astrology wheel, and then we notice this. There are things going back and forth. You may have this urge to broaden your horizons. You may be done with a school program. Maybe you're graduating. You could be moving abroad or coming back from having lived abroad. Some things having to do with immigration, education, spiritual pursuits. Something may be closing there. Maybe a perspective. 9th house is also our bigger views on life. So you may be changing how you see things. And I talked about this in the intro. Sometimes the power of the eclipse, with all of this rift in the matrix and all of the energy, coming in with this time-space continuum being shifted, sometimes we realize something, and that realization can change everything. And for Cancer people, there's more of a likelihood that you're going to figure something out. Maybe you've been sniffing around it in clothes, or maybe it will come like a lightning strike. But there's some perception changing of yourself, of other people, of patterns of the world, of life. And when that happens, you're going to be ready, first of all, to possibly take in more information to understand what's gone on. And you may also be ready to share about it. So this is, this energy of taking information and figuring it out and putting it back out. It's a fantastic time to start a school program as well. And you've got a lot of good forward-moving energy for that this month too, or making applications or taking tests. To better understand this energy, you can think back to the beginning of 2015 through the last half of 2017, or actually the first half of 2017, beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017. Think back to the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008. What things like I'm talking about happened then. Did you start school? Did your kids start school? Maybe it's a child having a milestone. As I talked about before, we've got all this Leo energy, so there could be milestones that children are having. Maybe they're graduating or going to different grade levels or different levels of their experience, and that's part of what's shifting out. It could be a very bittersweet time. So the way that the eclipses, the way that outer planets have their gravitational fields and how the movements cause effects in our lives, there's always so much to look into here. If you want to know how Saturn and Neptune just recently in Aries, how Jupiter recently in Leo, how Uranus recently in Gemini, how Pluto a little further back but still recently in Aquarius is affecting your personal chart, you can go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie the letter B Clarity.com, and get my outer planet transit report that will give you major themes that are working in your life anywhere from a year to even up to 20 years sometimes. These are very powerful themes that we don't always cover very well in the fast-moving star horoscopes. You can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash to get your August star report written by me with the best dates of the month, the worst dates of the month, and other things to know. Thank you for giving me this moment to share some of my paid resources, even though this Unleash star report is another free thing. Most of my work in the world is free. When those that value my free work make purchases of my paid offerings, it keeps an energetically sustainable circuit flowing that allows me to continue keeping attention on this part of my expression. As I have other passions increasingly beckoning me down different paths, I really appreciate, I love to do the free work, but I really appreciate when you all value my free work and make purchases of these paid offerings because, that helps me to keep it all going. If you are a late degree Cancer and you are 23 degrees of Cancer or later, or your birthday is July 15th through the rest of the sign, if you're a cuspy to Leo, and the Leo report will actually have some for you as well. So you can just listen straight on through. I'll start on that in a moment. If you're time stamping to another part of the report, I'll see you there. And if you're finished for now, I'll see you in the next report. Bye for now. Hello, Leo friends. Well, this month is very much about you. We've got not only Jupiter joining into your sign for the first time in 12 years, very recently, but we also have short-term transits Hygeia and the Sun zipping through your sign. You still have transiting South Node Leo there, which means the eclipses are featured here. And of course, and that's been since March 2025, going until 2028. And then, of course, this very month, on August 12th, we have your eclipse at 20 degrees, solar eclipse of Leo. So it's very exciting. It's a very vibrant, forward-moving, action-oriented, motivation-filled, inspiration, bubbling over type of month. And in addition to all of this, we also have the last period of time free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods until the very end of the year. So it's not only a time where the energy will be high, the motivation will be strong, but it's also a time when the planets are more clear to actually do something with that clarity and that ambition and that motivation. Solar eclipses mean new beginnings. The Sun coming back to your sign is another level of new beginning. Jupiter entering into your sign is a new beginning of a 12-year cycle. So it's very much about fresh new things for Leo. Karmic attachments clearing like crazy, especially within relationships. This eclipse cycle is very much about me versus we for Leo. And I'm sure you have been seeing since that period of time in March, the early 2025, every 6 months, there's this new chance to shuffle around energy with your autonomy and your merging with other people, with your independence and your interdependence, with clearing codependency and with coming to a higher level of connection with yourself and with others. The solar eclipse and all of these Leo transits very much relate to your physical body, your health, your wellness. While Jupiter can sometimes act as an expander, literally, and when it moves through the house representing your body, it can literally make you gain weight. However, knowing this, you can actively use Jupiter to figure out the reasons why you tend to put on weight and clear out those reasons so that you expand your consciousness about your body and not your physical body. If you're trying to put on muscle weight or you're trying to gain weight, this can be a very, very strong support of that. And if you are trying to lose weight and you use this time to locate your triggers and to get support for not only things involving eating, but also addictions and other things you do with your body, then it can be very, very, very productive because the energy wants to push you forward. Some of the energy wants to broaden you as well. But if you broaden your horizons and broaden your understanding, sometimes that can take the place of it not having to broaden your physical body. Okay, we're talking about energetics here in ways that they can manifest, but you're not doomed to any one way. These transits can give you a better body image. They can heal childhood trauma, including birth trauma, that may be affecting your life now and your image of yourself, and can get you more in touch with the symptoms that your body is communicating to try to let you know if it needs something more, if something you're doing isn't good for it, or if there's some sort of deficiency or anything else. Just basically things your body wants to know. So learning and becoming fluent in your body's symptomology language. All of this is for Leo Sun, Leo Moon, Leo Rising. If you've ever had the wondering as to why we can look at one chart and say that it's for all of those different Leo placements, I do actually have an answer for that. If you go to secretstarportal.com into my special private subscription site, I do actually give the answer to that burning question if you've been having that, along with a lot of other things. But just on the topic of it, because I know that somebody's thinking that, wondering, how is this for all of us? Well, the answer's there. Okay, in any case, what else we have going on is Mercury is going to join this party. So now we're talking about information, research, communication going on into this vitality, into this health, into this wellness, into this body knowing. There are more things that are getting accentuated by these transits as well, and that includes your identity, how you show up, how people know you, and how you want to be known. And you may be having a rebirth with what you want to do or how you want to be known. And this is an amazing time to let everybody know it. Let's say you're amazing at woodworking, but people think of you as an architect. Maybe now's the time to let everyone know, hey, I'm also an amazing woodworker and here's my stuff, or something like that, or vice versa. You know, you may want very much to become something or do something else. So you may be investing or have invested and are ready to show that new version of yourself off in one way or another. If you're wanting to do things to your body, to your hair, drastic things, wardrobe, this is actually the best month for a while. Once we get into Venus retrograde, everything with beauty and aesthetics is going to be reconsidered. It's not always the best time in a Venus retrograde cycle to do big, non-changeable, non-fixable, non-flexible things like buy a brand new wardrobe or get a tattoo. So this month is actually better for all of that stuff than many months to come. So if you're feeling that, you may use all this zesty energy to follow through with something. This major rebirth energy having to do with the eclipse cycles, where a part of you is being born and a part of you is phasing out. Think back to early 2017 through early 2019. Think back to early 2008 to the end of 2009. What kind of renaissance of your true self, of your authenticity happened at that time? What kind of changes in your relationships occurred at that time? Just to kind of give you a little bit of historical understanding of how these energies manifested before. Now, do note, just if something bad happened then, it doesn't mean it'll happen again. There were many things present during those dates that are not present now, and vice versa. So we're not talking about exact copies of the energy, but there are themes along the lines of me, we, of your body, of your physical body, of your identity that are coming up that will resurface again for the next level of upgrade. Mars is moving through Gemini for a little longer through around August 12th. This has been making a very favorable angle for Leo, and you may find that your interests have been diversified. Starting around June 29th, you might have been really interested in a bunch of different things. You might have been excited about writing or speaking or learning, communication, interacting, social things. Mars has been bringing that energy since the end of June and will go into August 12th. So if you've got some writing that you need to be doing, or if you're wanting to try on a bunch of different things, this is a great cycle for that. And of course, it pretty much exactly coincides with the time when we're in the Mercury retrograde cycle, which is great for trying things on that aren't permanent, that are easy to fix, that are shorter term. So you may be feeling that shift into something a little bit more internal and reflective as Mars gets into Cancer and lights up your 12th house of your private world. Then you'll spend from then until the end of September with the great motivator, the great obsessor, the great mover of energy in your 12th house of your psychic space, of your psychological space, of your metaphysical and spiritual world. I like to call it the attic of our being, where we've got every manner of everything up there. The cosmic consciousness is there, our connection to all that is, all that will ever be, all that it ever was. Angels, angelic guides, all of that. Mars is going to be moving you through a process of tapping into the lesser seen world after around August 12th from the perspective of the Mars movement. Right now, it's very outward, it's very external, it's very extroverted, it's very active, it's very mentally busy from the perspective of expression. And then it's going to turn inward a little bit into your, into your psyche, into your private space more. Then at the end of September, you'll have Mars move through your sign, and that will be a whole next level of, what I'm talking about here with the first house. Mars will come and back up and support and advance any of the things that you do during this time. And of course, we can't forget the aspect of Leo that has to do with your passions and your, whatever it is that makes you feel like you're lifting all your cells up to the sun like a sunflower. I always think of Leo as a sunflower sign, sturdy and strong and vibrant, leadership oriented, creative, and not shy about it. And if you have anything that you've been wanting to bring out creatively, this could be one of your best months of the whole year. And this can be one of your best years for 12 years from the perspective of Jupiter. So when you combine those two things, this month has that double energy. Then you add the solar eclipse in your sign. Now you've really got a party. So really think about what creative projects you want to bring out. This can have to do with children, conception, child rearing. This can have to do with true love, dating. This is a fantastic time for dating, especially for people you've never met. From August 8th through August 30th, there's this window that has none of the retrograde mischief. Brand new associations, brand new connections, brand new chapters. So whatever aspect of Leo, the romance, the childlike wonder, the creative projects, the leadership, the all eyes on you, all of that stuff, being in the limelight, you've got so many layers of that happening. Now, at the same time, we've got Venus in Virgo for a little longer, and the next eclipse, which is August 27th to 28th, depending on your time zone, and that's at almost 5 degrees of Pisces. So since the end of 2024, and every 6 months from now until the first half of 2027, we've had a Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. And this for Leo accentuates your 2nd and 8th houses. So you've got the me versus we aspects of things with the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle. And now you also at the same time have the my stuff versus our stuff. Marital holdings, family connections, financially. These are very much related to emotional, intimate, financial entanglement, loans, credit cards, debt, taxes, capital, investments. All of that's going on. And you've got a lunar eclipse, a big ending in the 8th house. It's going to have to do with things involving legacy. It can have to do with inheritances. Very much, the polarity of your money versus other people's money. When you inherit something, it goes from the 8th house into the 2nd house. When you invest your money, you go from the 2nd house into the 8th house because you take your money and you put it into a shared resource of some kind. This can also relate to scholarships and internships and anywhere where someone is helping you out to get something that you need, and where you're making investments. And sometimes those investments are financial. Sometimes they're with your time and energy and your focus. But something's going on there. You've got a big closeout, a big culmination. You can think back to the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017, and the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008. What went on with me versus we in those times? Did you get married? Did you get divorced? Did you have money come from the blue? Did you get a loan? Did you make investments? Did you make big purchases, sales? Or was it on more of a subtle level? Yeah, think back to those times, because those kind of themes will be what goes on this time around. And more recently, you can think back to 2024, the end there, and then 6 months later, and, twice in 2025, and then earlier in 2026. What's coming back again? Those questions about your money versus other people's money, your financial autonomy versus merging power with others. It's a big set of topics, and you're going to see those themes coming up now. Eclipse season began in June, so manifestations of all of these eclipses you could have seen happening since then, but things get more obvious, more down to the wire, and the chance for manifestation becomes more strong the closer you get to the actual eclipse. And there is a 4 to 6 week after each eclipse timeline where a lot of times news is still trickling in. So we've got a cycle ahead of information coming in. It doesn't always happen that we have clear skies free from personal planet retrogrades when we have eclipses. Sometimes we're in the midst of a retrograde shroud and information comes in from the eclipses and you're left really having no idea what to do with the information. But this is a time where you may be a little bit more clear, your actions may be a little bit more obvious of what to do, and you may be able to be more decisive about what you do with the things that come in. On the topic of clearing up karma, Leo is working on clearing up the karma with yourself and your relationships and your stuff and other people's stuff with these eclipses and with those rifts in time and space that occur from those astronomical events that align with the laws of physics. You have a greater chance at this time to really be done with these old patterns that are no longer serving you in those arenas. In recent times, we've had Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto all change signs. These are the outer planets. If you want to understand what that means for you personally, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com, to get my outer planet transit report that's personalized for your chart. If you want to know the best dates and the worst dates of the month of August, get my free star report when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash. Most of my work in the world is free. And when those who value my free work make purchases of my paid offerings, it keeps an energetically sustainable circuit flowing that allows me to continue keeping attention on this part of my expression. I do have other passions that are increasingly beckoning me down different paths. So as much as I just very, very happy I've been able to offer so much for free, and I do continue to do so, I want to just offer my gratitude for those of you who value my free work and make purchases of these paid offerings, and at least give the time for me to share about them in case they are a match for you. If you are a late degree Leo friend, so August 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degrees until the rest of the sign, then stay on and listen to the Virgo report, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. If you're time stamping to another place, I'll see you there. And if you're done for now, I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Virgo friends. Okay, welcome to the part specially just for you. This is a very important month for Virgos because we're back in the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that has been going since the end of 2024. You have all been in for it every 6 months. Radical change for many of you, moving along a major cycle of the likes you hadn't probably seen since the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017, or back to the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008 when these eclipse cycles happened before. We are getting closer to the end of whatever the storylines are here, as the beginning of 2027 is going to hold the last chapter in this story. So we will talk more about those eclipses as they're relating to you personally, but we do have some other things to talk about too. So let's just do a thorough overview here. This is for Virgo Sun, Moon, Rising, whatever Virgo placement you're listening for. Short-term transits, Hygeia and the Sun, pretty early in the month, Mercury joining, all into Leo. Those are short-term transits. Long-term transit, Jupiter, moving into Leo from the end of June 2026 until the end of July 2027. And of course, this transiting south node that relates to the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle that's been going on since 2025. All of this short and long-term energy is accentuating your house of personal private pursuits, your unconscious mind, the attic of your being that holds the gold of the cosmic consciousness, of all your ancestry, of all your potentials, of all your past, and all these potentials for the future. Your psychological and spiritual space, your artistic and reflective space. It's getting an extra boost now. If you are an intuitive Virgo and you are aware of your intuition, you may have a major set of breakthroughs in this short-term time. Prophetic dreams, or ones at least that are energetically sound, that point you to important information for healing or making decisions. Or flashes of awarenesses or insights that can radically change your perspective on things. You're entering a cycle of intuitive expansion that will last over a year. And there's been some semblance of this going on also since 2024. You're awakening, you're figuring things out. Virgo is very attentive to the mundane reality, the things that have to be done, the necessities, the basics, the grounded, logical space. Now, that part of Virgos that is the lesser seen realm, the more felt realm, that place of faith, that place of fear. This is the part of your being that's getting exercised and stretched and expanded. And this is what you're going to see activated at this time. If you are aware of what lucid dreaming is, you may find yourself doing more of it. If you're not, look it up, because you can work with this really strongly at this time. Becoming conscious in your dreams and shifting the outcomes can be part of healing internal blocks. All of this is preparing for the rebirth process that's going to happen when the Sun and Mercury and Hygeia all get into that first house of Virgo. Venus is already there. So you're pushing through with these short-term planets, these psychological blocks that are holding you back from your next level of rebirth, of upgrade. And you'll get some insights into what those things are. And you'll get some impetus to do something about it. All of this Leo energy is fire. It's action. It's direction. And you will be feeling that very, very strongly. So you'll be able to take some important actions. And this is something you might need some professional help with. Maybe somebody who, helps with addictions or helps with fear, or a meditation teacher, or, someone who helps you own your mental and psychological space. And even your psychic space, for setting boundaries and trying to go to your next levels of awareness and conscious utilization of this part of your being. So all of this is happening. Jupiter still will be working the backdrop for another year, even as you go through this rebirth now. And so you have more goodies like that to come. Adding to this storyline on August 12th, we've got the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle activating again with the 20-degree solar eclipse in Leo moon. So these are the ones that you can think back to March 2025, every 6 months since, early 2017 through early 2019, early 2008 to the end of 2009. When did you have something like this? Or what did you have happen in these arenas? Seen versus unseen, logical versus intuitive, mundane versus exalted and spiritual. Healing breakthroughs, healing crisis that led to breakthrough. All of this is getting activated again. If something difficult happened in those times, it doesn't mean that something difficult's going to happen again, because there were different stars then than there are now, and vice versa. But there are some themes that if you didn't learn some lessons or get something properly integrated last time around, you may find that this is happening for you now. This storyline of necessity and the basics with the artistic and basics for your soul, of your soul's expression. Basics for your body, basics for your soul. This is the seesaw that's happening at this time. As the month progresses, you will feel the energy move into your first house. That's your physical body. Getting more in tune with your physical body and its symptoms, exercising, expanding your vitality. Leo can be great for that. Leo is great for inspiration, great for dating. If you're an unattached Virgo that is looking for love, this might be one of your best months to look into this. For meeting new people and starting new chapters. And this is also a great time to do important things involving children, conception, important things for kids or your creative projects, launches. If you have a creative launch, this is one of the best months, especially August 8th through 30th, to put that creative Leo energy into action. That eclipse, August 27th or August 28th, depending on your time zone, is occurring in Pisces. That's your opposing sign. It's part of this polarity that's been happening since 2024 that we talked about. It's an ending, a big major chapter is ending or a culmination is occurring. Of course, with endings become new beginnings. Come new beginnings as well, right? So 5 degrees of Pisces happening in your relationship sector. Something is ending there. Maybe it's a hard time that you've been having and you blast off into a new great chapter. Maybe it's a relationship that's been struggling. It comes to an end, or that chapter comes to an end. Maybe the way of being with that person comes to an end. An example, if we combine the energies, maybe you find out you or your partner is pregnant, a baby's coming in, now that's the end of your partnership without that child. So you can kind of see how the energy flows when we combine it all together. So there's something that's changing, there's something that's ending, there's something that's growing, there's something that's evolving as it relates to me versus we. Me is the first house, Virgo, for you, and then we is the 7th house, represented by Pisces in the Virgo chart. So some major chapters and major milestones within relationship space occurring at this time. Since the end of June, Mars has been moving through Gemini, giving a little diversity in how you're expressing your energy. And still for a little while longer, accentuating this 10th house of work and career. Maybe looking to see how you can diversify your income or your work. Maybe being involved in writing projects or other spoken word expression projects. Gemini tends to diversify, so you may have been looking for different ways to make money, different ways to do your work, and kind of having several different things that you're getting yourself into in your place out in the world. August 12th, that's going to switch over into Cancer. That's an element that is a little bit more sane for Virgos. That scatteredness of the Gemini energy doesn't really work very well for Virgo. It's a little unsettling. And as Mars moves into this 11th house, the magic of networking is going to really be very strong all from August 12th until the end of September, when you'll have a lot of focus on helping other people within the group, or being helped or supported, or being part of a group. Internet-based projects, things like that. Teams, community projects, community building, social circles, as I said, networking. So you'll feel that energy as Mars moves on, and that will start making some really great angles for your Virgo placements as well. The angles of opportunity that you may actually have to do something with to activate, where you kind of feel like there's a potential there, that great energy that you feel, but you might have to do something with it to activate it. So be looking out for those opportunities, and a lot of them may come through other people at this time. Venus is moving through Virgo for a little while longer. Around August 7th, it will move into your house of money. So Venus rules the 2nd house, your finances, so you might get a little financial boost from there. But in that first week, if you've got to have pictures taken, and really this is true for all month for different reasons, but pictures taken or some updating your look, you can use this Venus energy. And even though August 1st through 7th, when Venus is still in that first house, is not lined up with this August 8th through 30th, there's some wiggle room that week. So if you want to do some focus on your physical appearance, or at least start plotting out in the first week some things that you want to do and implement them August 8th through 30th. Doing something with your hair, doing something with your wardrobe, doing something, that freshens up your look a bit. Or like I said, taking pictures. There's all really great energy for that for you. In recent times, we've had Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, just very recently Jupiter, a little further back, but still recent, Pluto, all changing signs. These are the outer planets, and they bring long-term themes, anywhere from a year to up to 20 years. If you want to know more about how those outer planet transits are affecting your personal chart, go to AnnieBClarity.com. Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com, to see my outer planet transit report that's personalized for your chart. And if you want a free write-up of the month of August with the best aspects of the month and the dates, the worst dates and aspects of the month, and what to do with all of it, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and click on Unleash to access your free written star report, and you'll see some of my other free and paid offerings there. I appreciate you taking a moment to listen to my paid offerings. Most of my work in the world is free, And when those who value my free work make purchases of my paid offerings, it keeps an energetically sustainable circuit flowing that allows me to continue keeping attention on this part of my expression. I do have other passions that are increasingly beckoning me down different paths. So I really appreciate the opportunity to continue having this be sustainable, to be able to keep bringing this to you as I have for the last 14 years. If you are a cuspy Virgo and you want to listen to Libra, just hang on a second. I'll be starting that report right here in a second. If you're time stamping to another sign, I'll see you there. If you're done for now, I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Libra friends. All right, so welcome to your section where we look at the lens of Libra to see this August astrology and get into a deeper layer, adding to what we already discussed in the intro. The information here is relevant for Libra Sun, Libra Moon, Libra Rising, any other Libra placement you're watching for. This will be one layer of your experience. Okay, so the first most notable thing that's going on is we've got a lot of short and long-term energy in Leo. The Sun and Hygeia, short-term, Mercury will be there soon in this month, making a veritable Leo party. Fire parties are always great for Libra because this shared fire-air element speaks your language. There's amazing conversation, inspiration. All the fire gives the motivation. The ambitions can expand. The social connections are very much intensified because all of the Leo energy for Libra lights up the 11th house of Aquarius. Add to that the stars are moving direct without the shadow periods of the personal planet retrogrades from August 8th to the 30th. And now you really have a time where you can make important contacts that can be very long-term and very critical. Dating, friendships, groups, becoming a member of a community or finding a group or tribe of people that speak your language and getting support from them or supporting them or feeling like you're part of a greater purpose. This 11th house really leads to that. And of course, the Leo end has to do with your own creativity, adding your zest to the group. Now add to that on August 12th, of course, we've got the 20-degree solar eclipse. So in Leo. So now there's a brand new beginning following this circuit that started in the beginning of 2025, and every 6 months there's sort of an awakening or a shift or an evolution in this area. And that will keep going until early 2028. So how you relate to other people and groups is in a major transformation process. And you may find that people you've connected with, that these are outdated relationships, that the person you are is no longer matching. Maybe these people are not helping you reach your highest expression, and that's very much what this eclipse is about, is your highest expression. It's very much about your next evolution of yourself, and so you'll be really evaluating those friendships and groups. You also may be starting new ones, and that is very exciting. The dating scene can be very, very, very lively because Leo rules true love, and the 11th house rules connecting with other people. So if someone wants to set you up, or online dating, or something that you're drawn to, like that has a really great set of opportunities this month, especially for new people coming into your life. The energy of children and creativity is also very much aspected. When we have this polarity between Leo and Aquarius, that's what this eclipse cycle is all about. It is very much about the group. The Aquarius part is about the group, and the Leo part is about your individual expression. So for Libra, you're getting this double energy because the 11th house rules Aquarius, but Libra has Leo in it. And Aquarius rules the 11th house, and Leo rules the 5th house, but Libra has Aquarius in it. So you've got this double storyline through the house and the sign of finding your place in the group and finding your expression and finding a way to shine and be your unique self while still making a difference in that setting. To understand this a little better, think back to early 2017 through early 2019. And before that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. Those are the times when these eclipses were activated in your past. So you could think about what happened notably with relationships, true love, romance, dating, what happened with children, What happened with your creative efforts? What happened with your friendships or groups that you were a part of, or internet-based projects, or futuristic even patents and things like that, technology? What happened in those junctures? Anything notable? It will give you kind of a sense from your own historical experience what this new phase may be like. And lessons you didn't learn then may come back around. Lessons you did learn then, you may get gifts from now. And of course, remembering that, like I talked about in the intro, this is a time for clearing karma. So if you've had bad luck or bad experiences in either of these arenas, it may be a time where you can really clear that out and have a fresh slate. All Libra placements can get extra kisses from these fire placements, but specifically with the eclipse, if you're between 15 to 25 degrees, the closer to 20 degrees, the more you may get a special positive boost from this because of the nice angle it would make to your placements. This would correspond with birthdays around October 8th through 18th, and the closer to around October 13th. Remember, when I give you these dates, it's give or take 3 or so days in either direction because the sun doesn't move into Libra on the same day each year. But in that roundabout time, you may get some more extra awareness of, or some extra magnificent outcome. But if you're not in that zone, don't worry. This fire party is for Libras, and all of this is available for everyone. You may get important information as well with Mercury moving into Leo. Big news may come in about one of these things that we've discussed. You have Mars in fellow air sign for a little while longer into the month, around August 12th. And it's lighting up your house of adventure. Maybe you're going far and wide. This is something that could be happening. You've got great stars for it all month, really, for travel, expansion. If you're trying to start an education program or bring your teaching out or publishing or writing, amazing energy for that in the short term and the long term, because we've got Mars and Ceres there short term. Uranus is new there, and you've got a long, many years circuit of having that arena of your life suddenly, out of the blue, accentuated. Uranus brings sudden insights and sudden changes, and so you may have sudden realizations that really change everything for you, and that could be a very positive experience. Then as Mars moves along, it will spend from around August 12th until around September 29th in your house of work and career and employment, your place out in the world, your passion projects if you're not employed or don't want to be employed, just things that you do out there that affects everybody. Parental figures are in here. And Mars, wherever Mars goes, obsession flows. That's my little saying. And so you may notice that you're getting really hyper-focused in this space. And you've got a great time for a business launch, asking for a raise, lateral movement, getting a new job, putting in applications, doing something different with your business, something like that. Bringing your business home or bringing your business online, or some major move for your work. This could be a very pivotal month for that for you. You haven't had this energy here for a couple of years. Mars has a 2-year, 2-month circuit. And yeah, so you just get an extra blessing there. You may be ready to birth something big in that arena of your life. And then on August 27th or 28th, depending on your time zone, we've got that continuation of the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that began at the end of 2024 and is still in process. We've got this time around, and then we've got one more series of this in early 2027, and that will be the end of this storyline. This has been for you activating your 12th and 6th houses, and the same as it was for your 11th and 5th houses, you've got these opposite. This is true for Libra all the time because Libra is the opposing sign of Aries. And Aries is what's called a natural chart. So you have this opposite chart, which means that all of the planet transits that move through a house are moving through the sign of their opposite. So when you have an eclipse in Pisces, that's in its opposite sign, the Virgo house for Libra. And when you have eclipses or any transits like Venus moving through Virgo, in Virgo, it's moving through the Pisces house. So that means you have double accentuation of the Pisces-Virgo polarity whenever there is any of that going on. So we're talking about logic versus intuition, the outer world versus your inner world, your ethereal connections versus your very mundane, practical, material viewpoints and experiences, your physical health and your mental and emotional health, your spiritual pursuits, your work or your job or what you do every day, your practices, your wellness, routines, things having to do with animals or pets. All of these things are accentuated. And there's some sort of ending of a chapter going on with this almost 5-degree eclipse in Pisces. So chapters ending can mean many different things. Sometimes it's something not good, that you want to be there, that goes away. That can be very sad and very stressful. The universe does tend to fill that spot, that energy, but there is that grieving process that may have to go on. Sometimes the ending of a chapter is something that you've been wanting to end, and you may rejoice about this because it's something that you have been trying to get done with, and now you're done with it. Like maybe you've had a health issue. This eclipse could represent an end to your health problem. For some people, it will manifest symptoms that will be the beginning of an awareness that something has been going on undercover. So it's very important to look into symptoms. I think always, because symptoms are the language of the body trying to communicate with us. And the more we can become fluent in that language, the more we can, own our wellness. But especially at eclipse time, and because you've got this great window for diagnostics, you might be able to get more clarity about what is wrong with you this month, especially August 8th through the end of the month. And really the diagnostics being more open do go into September because Venus retrograde doesn't really affect diagnostics. So you do have a period of time where you can investigate symptoms and try to find some answers so that you can make a plan and get the help that you need. This could be a time to give an animal a forever home if you work with animals or want a pet. This month could be really good for that. And you could embark on a new chapter in that arena. To understand this cycle more, think back to the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017 and the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008. What went on in your world then? Some crazy things that could happen, things like near-death experiences, psychic, intuitive insights, connections with the divine or spiritual realm, a real understanding about the connectedness of all things, or it could have been here on the practical, sixth house sort of things, like some sort of discovery or a health event or something involving a pet as well. So just think back to those times. Anything notable happen there? That will help you kind of start to understand the energy and the cycle that's at play here. If something really bad happened in those times, it doesn't mean that it will happen again because there were different stars then than there are now. But there could be a storyline that's continuing or coming back around or that you're expanding upon. The eclipses will hold a lot of intensity, and we tend to feel that foreboding, like change is coming and we don't know what's going to happen. So you will feel maybe like you have your finger stuck in an electric socket the whole month. But overall, this is a supremely positive energy for Libra because of the massive amount of fire energy. We also have a lot of long-term energy and some short-term energy in Aries, which can bring oppositions that activate your me-we sector. This is always a big thing with you all. But it does speak the language of air, the exhilaration, the meetings of the mind, the impetus, the excitement, connecting with other people. All of that will be very active this month. And Venus will move into Libra. That happens around August 7th, and it will go until around September 10th. This is a really exciting time when we have Venus, especially because Venus is your ruler. Your ruler moving through your sign can be a time of extra harmony, of peace with yourself, with your body, of physical healing, of emotional healing. It also can be a fantastic time to take pictures. If you need pictures of yourself for something for work, or if you want to just for posterity have pictures of, with your family, you could be especially good on camera at this time. And it gives you an extra boost to look and feel your best and have extra vitality. In recent times, we've had Uranus, all of the outer planets, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and now Jupiter, all changing signs. Jupiter is in Leo now, It hasn't been there since the middle of 2014 to the middle of 2015. And that's accentuating the energy of the eclipse that we started with. If you want to know more information about what these outer planets are doing in your chart, go to AnnieBClarity.com. Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. You can go in another window right now and check out my outer planet transit report that will go over these very big long-term themes personalized for your chart with videos made by me. If you want to know all of the sweet and salty dates of the month so that you can plan your actions around them, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and click on Unleash, and you'll get your free August star report that has all of my details for how to make the month the best. They are written for you and lots of dates for you to put down in your book so that you can be ready for the astrological weather. If you're a late degree Libra, so 23 degrees through the rest of the sign, or if you have your birthday from October 15th through the rest of the sign, I suggest you just stay on board for another second here and get right into the Scorpio report, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. If you're time stamping to another section, I'll see you there. If you're done for now, I'll see you in my next report. Bye for now. Hello, Scorpio friends. All right, let's look at the lens for the Scorpio sun, moon, rising, whatever your Scorpio placement, and get into another layer, a deeper layer of the August astrology for you. The first and most noteworthy thing is this wall of Leo. We've got short-term energy, Hygeia, the sun, Mercury about to join the Leo party. The long-term energy, Jupiter, transiting South Node, that's related to the eclipse cycle. And of course, that 20-degree solar eclipse in Leo. And all of this is happening in your place out in the world. It's activating your fame sector. And this is a long-term thing. I've been talking about this. I will be talking about this with Jupiter's entrance into your fame sector. Your work, your business, your place out in the world, even if it's not for money. I will often have people ask, hey, I'm retired, or I don't need money for some reason. You know, how does that relate to me? Well, your place out in the world is still your place out in the world. Your reputation, how people know you, what you're doing, your activities, the communities, the clubs, the things that, you know, where you interact with people, whether you make money from them or not. This is that active place out in the world, the place where you're building in your material realm, where you're making a difference with actions that you take. This can also relate to parental figures, or you as a parental figure. So you've got all of this energy. You've got this proactive Hygeia energy, wanting to be preventative and look out to prevent problems in the future. You've got Mercury bringing news and information. You've got the sun lighting up possibly your fame and reputation, possibly showing you where there are problems in that area of your life and where they need to be solved, possibly ego clashes. But one thing to know with all of this awesome energy is that it does make a square to your placement. Fire and water, you can make productive steam with it, right? And it may wind up being that way. This could be an epic advancement in your work and career or your place out in the world. However, it is going to be a little bit of a birthing process, or maybe a lot of a birthing process, because you're going to have to move from this inner world that Scorpio dwells into this outer world. And sometimes it takes a lot of effort to bring that powerful richness that is the Scorpio realm pushed out into the material realm. So, you know, very much like birthing a baby. It is a crazy process that you can't even believe is real. How does that even happen? That's what you're going through. If you have to make some big business moves, changes, launches, possibly one of the best times ever to launch your business as a Scorpio, while Jupiter is in that 10th house, it's going to be protecting and serving and helping you to expand your work and your career, and which of course could definitely lead to money. You can make some major decisions. And of the year that Jupiter is there are only certain periods of time that we don't have personal planet retrogrades or their shadow periods, or that Jupiter is in retrograde. So one of those periods of time for this whole next year, from the middle of 2026 to the middle of 2027, is now, August 8th through August 30th. So if you've got to do something, paperwork, commitments, contracts, anything like that, this may be some of your best time, not just for this year, but also for the next whole year. My husband is a Scorpio, as if you've been listening to me for a while, then you know this. So I will definitely be informing him about all of this so that he can align, you know, with this as well, because these these are the kind of energies where things may happen without you even realizing that this is going on. But if you know what's going on, you can harness this massive power and push it out into the world now. It's very exciting. Okay, at the same time, you've got a little bit longer until August 12th of Mars activating your 8th house of Scorpio. So you may be in these talks in the beginning of the month, negotiating these contracts. And even though I'm giving you these exact dates, there is a little bit of wiggle room here. And the first week may hold some very, very important things that are relevant to everything that we're talking about. Then after August 12th through September 29th, Mars, which is one of your rulers, will go into the 9th house of adventure, of expansion, of optimism, of teaching, of learning, and it could really broaden your horizons in some very exciting ways. If you want to start an education program or get educated to expand your place out in the world, this would be one of the best months possible for that. If you want to take a trip or travel or have some kind of adventure near or far, this can be one of the best months for that. If you want to bring your teaching out into the world, this could be one of the best months for that. Again, with the launches, the tides are going out very, very strongly, and anything you put out on those tides can travel far and wide for much longer compared to the stars before then and the stars for most of the rest of the year as we move into that Venus retrograde shadow period that starts August 30th. And we start to kind of descend into an inward process as we do a review of everything in our life that's ruled by Venus, which is love and money and finances and relationships and aesthetics and all of that. So we'll be doing a deep dive here soon, but this month, this is your time to take those big actions. Engagements and weddings, love it this month. If you know someone that's getting married, let them know they have extra blessings from these stars. And if you're wanting to pop the question, this could be an amazing month for that. All right, now we talked about the 10th house at length here. I just want to touch a little bit more on the Leo energy itself. Mercury will be there too. This is about that creativity, that creative force, the same force that sparks romance and divine love, the same spark that sparks human babies and creative babies. Anything having to do with bucket list things, passion projects, things that really, where you shine like that, like the sun, that is the ruler of Leo. All of that is the essence of what's happening right now. And in introspective or introverted Scorpios, this may be where that push is for you to kind of let people see how fabulous you are and let them see the richness that is your unique creation. Because a lot of times, you know, that Scorpio hiding thing, if you don't take the time to get to know Scorpios, you would miss it. You would miss it all because sometimes it's very much under the surface. But this is a time for it to come out. And this eclipse process, there's something new being born here. A solar eclipse, that's a new beginning in these arenas. So since early 2025, every 6 months until early 2028, there's this big bouncing back and forth of the energy shifting with work. Whenever I say work, if you don't work, just use that word in your mind to mean synonymously your place out in the world, okay? Work, career, and home. Because everything is in duality in pairs in astrology. We have to look at both sides. We are on a planet of duality. And when there's an eclipse cycle, there are these opposing forces that are opposing and complementary. So what's being accentuated and evolving during this time is your home, your family, your inner world, your housing, and your work and your career and your place out in the world. So if you have to move, if you're trying to buy or sell a house, something like that, you know, this is what's going on. And you will feel the push and pull between the expansion for your work and your home. Your home life will give you the impetus for the work and vice versa. So this is the rich polarity that's happening. Think back to early 2017 to early 2019. What was going on in those parts of your world then? Early 2008 to the end of 2009. What was happening then? What was expanding? Those might give you some insights into the kinds of things that you'll see now. Then, of course, we have the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. Now, this one is in a better angle for you. All of that Leo Aquarius stuff, that's squares. That's birthing things, but, you know, it's kind of hard. But this energy is nice. I don't want to say that the other one isn't nice. It's just in a language that your sign understands. And of course, we have to understand that we're so much more than just our sun sign or your moon or rising, whatever you're watching for. So we're specifically talking about the language of Scorpio, but we have so much in us. We have all the elements in us. I always think of us as a pie, a cosmic pie made of the ingredients of the signs and the elements. And we all have all the elements and all the signs in us, just in different ratios. So August 27th, I think I wrote down that August 12th was the solar eclipse. But August 27th, 28th, depending on your time zone, is the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. Again, the lunar eclipse at almost 5 degrees of Pisces. That's going to occur for you in the 5th house. Some kind of chapter ending, something coming to fruition, something coming to completion, something coming out, a creative project being born, a chapter ending. This can have radical karmic clearing in the arena of Pisces, which we talked about more in the intro. But specifically for Scorpio, this is in your house of Leo, which is that true love, relationships. There could be chapters ending for better or worse, but this is in a nice angle for Scorpio, so hopefully that will be for better. All of the Scorpios can get goodies from this, but those of you who are the early sector, so October-born Scorpios, you all may get extra special kisses from this. A child or children could be experiencing major milestones at this time. So you could see this chapter ending, and of course with the chapter ending, the new beginnings start. And you could go to a different level in a relationship, a love relationship that you're in, or there could be some endings or changes there. You also can end a streak of being single by having a perfect person come in. As I said, between Jupiter being in the sign of Leo, which rules true love, and the eclipse cycle being in your house of Leo, which rules this energy of true love, there could be some massive expansion on those fronts. You do have a creative project ready to launch into the world. This couldn't be a better time, as we've discussed at length. You know, if you're finalizing something and working on it through the Mercury retrograde process, until then, you may be ready to show something to the world or to announce something that's going to come out. Or you may get major news in these areas. To understand this more, think about the end of 2024 and every 6 months after in this arena, activating your unique gifts versus your community and your friendships. Scorpios are undergoing a radical change in their friendships from these eclipses. If you have been having trouble finding perfect friendships or groups, that may have changed in these recent times, and that may continue to change as this eclipse cycle continues. You may be done with old groups and have started new connections and finding places where you feel like you really belong and you can build with others. You can think back to the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017. That was a time when we had this, Scorpios had the eclipses here before. Prior to that, the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008. This story of your unique gifts and your social groups and you being in a group and a community and you having your unique flow and all of that. What went on in those times? Did you have a child? Was there a notable romantic situation? Did you join a group? Did you go on a team? Did you become involved with a large organization or a community project? Understanding the past can help you understand how things may manifest for you in the future, just to really get that essence of what's happening here. We've had all the outer planets change in recent times. Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, they went into Aries, Pluto went into an Aquarius, Uranus has gone into Gemini, and Jupiter is now, as of the end of June, in Leo. If you want to know what that means for your personal chart, go to Annie B. Clarity, Clarity.com. Get my outer planet transit report made by me. I make all my own stuff. I don't have AI doing my work for me. And you get video reports on what these outer planets' long-term themes can be from a year to up to 20 years. What are they doing in your chart? And what does that mean for you? So you can see that at AnnieBClarity.com. If you want to know about all the sweet dates and the salty dates for August, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash, and get your free August star report written by me. that will have all the best dates and the worst dates of the month. This could be very critical, especially if you're trying to base a launch, even though the August 8th through 30th is really great overall for launches. There are some key dates with some aspects that are heads above the rest, so you can get all of that in the star report there at anniehelpsyou.com. Just click on Unleash. If you're a late degree Scorpio, what I like to call a Scorpitarius, your birthday from like November 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23-degree Scorpio placements through the rest of the sign, keep hanging on just a couple of seconds more and I'll start the Sagittarius report, you late degree friends. That will also be for you. That will give you another layer of your experience. And if you're time stamping to another area, I'll see you there. If you're done for now, I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Sagittarius friends. All right, welcome to your special segment where we look at the astrology of August through the lens of the Sagittarian experience. This is for Sag Sun, Moon, Rising, any other Sagittarius placement. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. As a fellow Sag with you, if you've been listening to my reports over time, you know that I get very excited about August for Sagittarius in general because it's a Leo season. Leo is fellow fire sign to Sag, same elements, speaking the same language. We've got a ton of Leo energy, all making trines, the best possible aspect in all of astrology. We've got long-term transits in Leo, which are giving us great storylines that are helping us to aid in our conscious evolution and improve our lives and have better experiences and bring our creativity out into full expression. In the long term and in the short term, we've got extra boosts. So let's break this down piece by piece. We've got short-term Hygeia bringing us into a proactive mode in August. I've already said that August 8th through the 30th is some of the best in the entire year. Certainly the best dates, even through the whole rest of the year. We'll have a little pocket towards the end of the year, but our ruler Jupiter is going to go retrograde then. So even that energy won't be as fully usable as this is right now for being proactive, for doing the things that the small steps, the big steps, and August 8th through 30th, you're free from the personal planets being retrograde. So any big imprints you want to make while the tides are going out, you're going to be able to use that proactive energy of Hygeia. You've got the sun brightening up everything having to do with the Leo, which is our creativity, our romance, true love, children, things involving children's projects, things involving whatever your passion fires get lit by. Bucket list things. Zesty leadership projects, things that put you out or you or your work out to be seen. Leo energy also has to do with the things that are just straight up fun. You know, like I said, pleasures, passions, hobbies that don't even have to be for anything in particular. Mercury is going to join this Leo party with this short-term energy. The sun is putting a bright spotlight on what it is that we want to do, giving us clarity. And these, most of August is a really great time for clarity. And the sun can also show us the things that need to be fixed or adjusted to get to where we want to be. So this is an amazing month, not only just for shining, period, for big announcements, for big steps, weddings, engagements, anything having to do with true love, milestones for children, enrolling college or education for yourself. And this is a huge story, education, because all of this Leo energy for Sagittarius lights up our 9th house, which is ruled by Sagittarius. And now for a whole year, from the very end of June until sometime in July of 2027, so a full year of Jupiter being in fellow fire sign, making the best aspect in all astrology for all of our Sagittarius placements, while also moving through the sign that it rules, which is our ruler, which is our house, the 9th house. So you can see this is going to be a year that is very much about feeling that passion and getting it out in a big way. Jupiter does things big. Sometimes Sagittarius do things a little too big, right? I'm sure you get that. Sometimes a little bit too big for us to manage or keep up. We get carried away. But we can tend to those things, and those topics may come up this year. But for right now, it's just really focusing on leaving that internal space that we've been in since Jupiter moved through Cancer. That was very difficult for us. I'm sure many Sagittarius have had just a blah, kind of very internal, maybe not very creatively engaged, where you feel forsaken creatively even, because it's just so internal, and so many beautiful blessings and gifts and expansion within your close relationships have probably happened as well over this time. Certainly there were opportunities for that. But it was our fire ruler moving through a water sign in a water house, and now it's in a fire sign moving through a firehouse. And it is a much more natural, easy flowing, exciting, motivating, inspiring transit, and expansive. We have gone very internal during this last year, maybe anti-broadening our horizons, maybe pulling in from doing too much out in the world. And maybe it's been a beautiful rest point that you've been able to really think about and gather what it is that you want to do in the future, what it is that you want to do with those passion fires. And now this year is going to be a time to get things out. And these few weeks, August 8th through the 30th especially, you may have some things you can do the first week of August as well with this. But this is very much about taking those big steps from all of those reflections that you've had during that time, all of that internal space, all of that connecting deeply with people close to you and others and yourself and the spiritual dimensions. And now you're starting to emerge. It will feel like, for some of you, you're coming back to life. It will feel like a rebirth for many of you as well. And you're back to sharing your expression. You might have been deep in study for this time, where you've been taking information in, and now's the time where you may be ready to put some of it out. And at the same time, in other arenas of your life, you may be ready to learn more. This is one of the best years upcoming now that's from the middle of 2026 to the middle of 2027, for engaging in expansive new education programs, for finishing off studies that you've been having for a while or going deeper into them, for starting to teach or share differently, put things out into the world from the things that you've learned. Publishing is of special notice here. Things having to do with the spoken word, the written word, are all coming back to life for Sagittarius. If you felt muted, if you felt dulled, if you felt contained, if you felt restricted, you will hopefully start to feel those shackles becoming released. And since Jupiter went direct during a time when Mercury was going into retrograde, there's this like ready to erupt feeling from Jupiter's movement with this muted, not yet kind of story of the retrograde. But not now. Now it's all going direct, it's all open, and you're starting to really, really feel this. International projects, international business, languages, immigration, moves or periods of time that you spend in different countries or with people from different countries. All of that is going to be beautifully, beautifully expanded in the short term this month, and in the long term for the whole next 12 months or more. Now, add to all of this, of course, as I said, Mercury is joining the Leo party, information, conversations about all of these topics. And then, of course, on August 12th, we've got that 20-degree Leo solar eclipse. Major new beginnings in everything that I just listed. All of these things that Leo represents, all of these things that the ninth house represents. A chance for new beginnings here. All of Sagittarius spectrum, everyone in the Sag spectrum basically, can get great goodies from the short-term movements, from the long-term movements, from the eclipse. But specifically with the eclipse, if you are between 15 and 25 degrees of your Sag placement, if you know your placements, if you're in there, the closer to 20 degrees, the more you may get a very obvious kiss from this. Sometimes those closer aspects don't always mean something better than the other Sages get. It may just be more obvious and more clearly a manifestation. It may be more external rather than just internal revelations as well. But it may be more notable for you all in that range. And that will relate to birthdays around December 7th through December 17th, the closer to around December 12th, the more you may get the kiss from that. Now I'm using the 7th through the 17th, but since the sun doesn't move into Sagittarius on the same day every year, there's always a 3-day or so wiggle room with that date range. So we could be even pushing back to December 4th through December 20th, and it's going to depend on those degrees. But if you don't know those degrees, somewhere in that range, a very wide part of the Sag spectrum, you may get extra goodies from this. And the closer you are to around the 12th, the more you may really notice this. So these are amazing blessings that are carried over from the storyline of the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle that started in early 2025 and has happened every 6 months since. This is activating the 3rd and 9th houses for Sagittarius and has to do with taking information in and putting it out. Social contacts, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of those are going through a cycle of evolution. Written word, spoken word, information, learning, teaching, publishing, writing, editing. These are getting bounced back and forth with all of this energy from this Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle since March 2025. It will go into early 2028. Some things are still in evolution here. The last time this happened was early 2017 through early 2019. Before that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. What kind of things happened in those realms then? Did you start to write a book? Did you start to write a blog? Did you go to school for something important? Did you have true love experiences? Did something notable happen with children in those times? Did you become a parent? Were there milestones with your family? Were there important key relationships? Those are the kind of things that you're likely to see from this eclipse cycle. And this season started in June. You're starting to get hints. July got stronger. August, bam, 2 eclipses this month. And then for 4 to 6 weeks after each eclipse, information can still come in. And then the storyline is still at work into 2028. But every 6 months or so, it becomes more conscious. It gets pushed out. And then we get to a new state of normalcy with the information that comes in. And then the 6 months comes and then we, everything comes back out again and we move to the next level. So something big is going on here. Now, at the same time, as the month develops, the sun will get to Virgo. Venus already started out the month in Virgo. Around August 26th, Mercury will get to Virgo, and we have a really different picture. We've got those passions, those excitements, those, the fires blazing into this really productive, tangible action, which you can really take all month, but you'll feel this gelling, this, writing things down, this manifesting, this clear material presentation or these steps, and it relates to your place out in the world. Work, career, business. For many of you, employment, this is going to be a very hot topic that is occurring. You'll be asking questions or taking actions this month. This is a great month to do something important for your work. Start a new job, put in applications, ask for a raise, get accolades. Venus is there. That can rule some money. It's good. The sun will move there. It will brighten things up. Now, the Virgo energies make a square to Sag. That's very different than that beautiful, flowing, harmonious, speaking your language energy that Leo has. So there may be a little bit of work that you have to do. And usually when Earth transits occur for Sag, that square manifests as we got to knuckle down from the infinite, pull it into the finite, discern which things you're going to focus on, and get to your list of things to do and actually do them. Something that will be really helpful this month for Sag is something that I learned from Timothy Ferriss in a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. He said, take those top actions that you avoid by doing little menial things all throughout the day. Do those things first. And then if you do nothing else for the rest of the day, you still would have made more impact on what it is that you're trying to do than if you piss around and don't, kind of avoid those things. So if you narrow down, and you can, and you will, and that's what this Virgo energy is good for. You're taking all this passion, this excitement, this idea, this big picture of Sag, which is the 9th house, and you're pulling it, squeezing it, focusing it, directing it into the cardinal nature of the 10th house, which is Capricorn. And this earth placement, earth house and earth signs of Virgo, they're moving through it. So you're squishing the infinite into something finite. You're squishing the limitless into something restricted or directed or discerned. And then you're putting more power behind that and you're getting some stuff done. So this is going to be a time for your dreams and your big pictures to kind of squash down into, okay, now I'm knuckling down and you're doing something about this and I'm taking those steps. So you'll feel that progression through the beginning of the month and, get stronger as the month progresses. Mars is still in Gemini for a little while longer, accentuating our 7th house of relationships, wanting us to use our energy, getting our fingers in a lot of pudding pies. Gemini rules the 3rd house, which is part of this complex of the eclipses that have been going on with the Leo Aquarius, as I told you, that hit in the 3rd and 9th houses for Sag. So we do have a little more push of that where you're wanting to get your fingers in a lot of pudding pies. And as I said, the month will help you direct down into narrowing those down. Now that leads into the discussion about the Pisces Virgo eclipses, because that eclipse cycle is happening as well. So since the second part of 2024 and now going into the first part of 2027, we're getting closer to being almost through this whole storyline. Sag has been having a lot of changes in their home and work polarity. The 10th house that we've been talking about with these short-term transits activating as they move through Virgo. 4th house of Pisces for Sag. And the actual eclipse on August 27th or 28th, depending on your time zone, is going to be at almost 5 degrees of Pisces. It's a lunar eclipse, something ending, something changing, milestones occurring in your house of home and family. There could be a move. There could be an exit of, somebody moving out, or if you're have tenants or roommates. There could be something having to do with milestones for children. There could be next stages of development or next chapters for someone in your family. And this is all within the parallels here of home versus work, your inner world versus your outer world, your place in the home and with your family and inside yourself, and the place outside in the world, which is the 10th house. We always talk about employment, career, business in the 10th house, but it's really your place out in the world. And for some people, that's not monetized. If you're retired or if you have money for whatever reason, your place out in the world is still your place out in the world. And it is the stuff that you do where it impacts other people. Could be community, could be reputation, could be other passion projects that have nothing to do with making money. But this dance between the inner and the outer world, the logic and the intuitive, you'll be feeling this. And this has been active. So there have been a lot of shuffling around. And Sag is in a lot of movement of going inside to reflect on what they really want and then making these changes in their outer world with their work, with their business, with how they call themselves, with how people know them, with, how they're showing up in the world. And you will feel this. The last time this happened was the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017. And before that, it was the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008. So you can think about what changed in your home and family and housing and your work out in the world and your place in the world and your, real estate and, your inner world and your outer world and all of that in those periods of time. And you'll have a better understanding of the kinds of things that can happen. Doesn't mean the same things will happen, but just kind of the spirit of that movement and that change and that dance of energy. Recent times now with Jupiter just moving into Leo, we've had all the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all change signs. If you want to know what that means for you with personal video report package from me, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com, to see my outer planet transit report. If you want to know more about August, get all the sweet dates and the salty dates. This is going to be a very, very important month if you're trying to do important things because of that open window and you want to nail it down into the best aspects. Go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash. That will send you'll put your name and email address in. That will send a welcome letter to your inbox. You click on the welcome letter. In there's an archive, and you'll be able to find that August sweet and salty report. It will be called that, so you'll find it in the archive. And about midway down are the dates, and then I expand upon them in the second part of the newsletter. If you're time stamping on or going to a different chapter, I will see you there. If you're done for now, I'll see you in the next report. And I hope you have a good month, and I'll see you soon. Now. Hello, Capricorn friends. Okay, welcome to your special section where we look at the astrology of August through the lens of Capricorn. Sun, moon, rising, whatever cap placement you've got. This is going to be part of your astrological picture. This is a very powerful month, not just because we have this open period free from personal planet retrogrades that is short, August 8th through 30th, and will only be a small amount of the whole rest of the year that we're going to be covered in some sort of retrograde or shadow period pretty much, but also because we have two eclipses. Let's talk first about the slower moving planets, some of the faster moving planets that are all moving through the sign of Leo, because that is a big point of this month. It is Leo season, and we have a lot of planets singing the Leo tune. So I want to talk about what that means for you. We've got Mercury joining the Leo party for the short-term transits, Hygeia, the Sun, all singing that Leo tune, bringing that zest and creativity and drive, romance, true love, amazing time for new experiences, milestones involving things with children, your creative efforts, and anything having to do with what makes you feel like you are rising up to the sun like a sunflower with all the cells of your body just overjoyed and stretching. This is the energy of Leo, and it's abundant at this time. Now, Capricorns, speaking the earthy language, they don't always match with the language of the fire energy. Now, of course, this is alongside with the fact that all people have all elements in them in a different ratio, and that when we're looking at a general report, we can't really see what ratio you have. Maybe you're a very Saggy Cap and have a bunch of fire, and this is going to affect those fire parts of you in different ways than your Cap side. But we can only do it based on each placement. So any Cap part of you is going to have maybe a little bit of overwhelm with the zesty nature of this time. Ego battles, clashes with power struggles, because for Cap, this is occurring in the 8th house. This may be a time when you take on leadership within financial circumstances, where you may take action on something like a loan, taxes, credit, something like that, investments, and it could be one of your best months for getting those funds or for doing something important in those arenas, especially if it's a new loan. You can do refis and things like that now for sure. But if you do have to do something new, this is one of your best months of the year for something involving money, collaborative money, wills, things like that, putting together trusts, sorting things out with those, parts of life that we don't always like to talk about. Birth, death, transformation, rebirth, or all the area of Scorpio, which rules this 8th house. And you've got Mercury bringing information, contracts, communication, the Sun brightening up with what has to be done, Hygeia bringing a proactive nature to what's going on, where you're thinking ahead and strategizing. All of these short-term energies are boosting the fact that we have long-term transiting South Node there. That's been going on for quite some time, since 2025. And now new Jupiter into the Leo scene. So Jupiter is going to be expanding this place for you from July of this year until July of 2027. So you've got a short-term push with all of these quick-moving planets, adding zest at the perfect timing to do very critical things. But there's a long-term story here where this part of your world is being expanded, in deeper ways. This also is your spiritual side, your psychological side. What makes people tick? What makes you tick? All of those are questions that are being asked now. Mystery novels and shows, the deeper mysterious questions are the kind of things that are coming up now from this energy. Of course, we add to that, on August 12th, we've got that 20-degree solar eclipse of Leo. Continuing the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle that began in early 2025. It happened every 6 months since then, going until early 2028, activating the 8th house and the 2nd house for Capricorn placements. So your individual finances versus your shared resources, your individual income and spending versus your family money or your business or partner money, and your material world with your finances, and also your emotional intermingled world when relationships and connections with others are very much a part of this. Other people's money, other people's resources, benefiting you in some way and vice versa. So this is what's being aspected, Even though the eclipse itself is in the 8th house, we don't ever look at the 8th house or one house alone when we're thinking about eclipses, because they come in pairs and they're working back and forth in these arenas with these storylines. So energy is getting shuffled around. You may be getting more independence from a toxic money or a shared financial situation, or you may be having some support with your individual finances from other people's money and diving deeper into collaborations. So something's getting shuffled around in this time frame. Think back to early 2017 through early 2019. Think back to early 2008 to the end of 2009. What did it look like in those arenas for you? Were there notable things that happened? Did you have spiritual breakthroughs? Sometimes the 8th house is good for that. Did you have a rebirth or transformation in your psyche or with your spiritual part of yourself? Your relationship to the material realm and the immaterial realm? Was there some kind of notable thing that happened there? Did you buy something big? Did you pay something off? Did you merge money? Did you become independent, start a business? All of these things are the types of things we see with these eclipses. And so the eclipse cycle is bringing this up as a bigger storyline. Jupiter's coming in and corroborating strength for the next year, and these short-term planets are bringing extra zest at this moment where you might be ready to take some action as you have realizations and information comes in on these topics. Things involving money, children, legacy, those are big topics now. And it's really one of the best times of the whole year to put something permanent in place, especially August 8th through 30th. Now, as the planets move on from Leo into Virgo, the Sun will get there, Venus is already there, Mercury will get there around the 26th. Now we start an Earth party that is perfect for Cap, because all this Leo energy, as I started from the beginning, it's zesty, it's motivating, it's inspiring, it's action-oriented. That kind of matches Cap in a way, right? Action-oriented. But the language it speaks is a little bit off for Cap placements. So, but the Earth language, which is starting to get more support with these fast-moving planets, is going to really strike a positive chord with you as it expands your horizons, moving through this 9th house of Sagittarius and bringing topics like writing, teaching, publishing, education, taking information in, putting information out. And all of these things that are activated in the short term are corroborated in the long term as we look at the eclipse profile for the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. August 27th or 28th, depending on your time zone, we've got that almost 5 degrees Pisces eclipse. This is a continuation of the eclipse cycle that began in the second half of 2024, every 6 months. This is our second to last manifestation of this storyline. Something's been going on for Capricorn with the taking of information in and the putting out, the educating and the teaching, the expanding of horizons and the distilling down of massive information into usable form. This dance between the 3rd and 9th house is what's been happening from this storyline for you. Think back to the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017. And think back to the beginning of 2006 to the first half or through the first half of 2008. What ways were you doing education, writing, teaching, publishing, international travel, learning languages, international business? What ways were you doing those things there? Social, neighbors, friends, things like that could have come up here. Your community, relatives, aunts, uncles, nephews, cousins, all of those relatives that are separate than your kids, which are represented by these Leo energies, and your parents, which could be in this 8th house because that's shared parental money. But this is what's going on here. So what is that activating for you? As we have that lunar eclipse cycle, something is ending. Something's ending in this 3rd house. Some way that you do sharing or taking in of information. Maybe you're having an educational milestone. Maybe one of your kids is having an educational milestone, and that's how the Leo energy comes in. There's a chapter that's closing out in favor of the next chapter. Maybe you've been doing your business a certain way, and that involves education or information. Maybe you're going through a radical change right now, or you have something in the works that's going to be launched soon, or that you're starting to divert your energy to, and that process will be complete by the first part of 2027, the first half of 2027. So something is happening here, and it may have been in the backdrop, and you may have been keeping it a secret or been keeping it private and letting it nest. This Pisces energy is very much behind the scenes. So you may be making a big announcement at this time. And if you're ready to do that and it feels like it's time, then these stars are fantastic for that. But the Pisces energy is a little bit private, you know, sometimes a lot private. So you'll be making your mind up. Are you just going to work on milestones behind the scenes? Or are you going to make some of that public and start to let people know what you've been doing and what they can expect to come? And a lot of it may be linked to your creativity, creative projects that you've been having going on behind the scenes. We still have Mars in Gemini for a little while longer. That's kind of a dizzying energy for Capricorn. It's all over the place. Not the Cap fave, but it has given you some diversity in your interests. It is having you move your energy a little bit more wildly, a little bit less directed, getting interested in this and that, trying things on. And a week or so into the month, you may be getting ready to direct that a little bit more differently. And it's going to be very much focused on your relationship space until the end of September, where this passion of Mars, this obsession even of Mars, I always say where Mars goes, obsession flows, and that's going to be going into the sector of other people and your relationships with them. It could be friends and family, it could be partners, it could be, you know, business or romantic, and it could be clients or other people that you know. So you're going to go through this period of time where you're making a lot of connections. And if you have a big project, either where you're launching it now or that you're preparing to launch it in the future, you may be making important connections now that will help you to do that in the future. So this is, you know, once every 2-ish years do we get Mars moving through this area of the chart for Capricorn. So it's not super rare, but, you know, it hasn't been around for a while. And after it's gone, it won't be around for a while again. So it's definitely perfect timing to make those important connections, to get support you need, to hire professionals, to talk with people, interact with people, and to be able to help them and figure out ways that, you know, you can collaborate that are mutually helpful. Now that Jupiter's changed signs, we have all of the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, have all changed signs in somewhat recent times. What does that mean for you? Go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie the letter B, Clarity.com, to get your outer planet transit report, video report package by me, where it lines up for your chart, and I'll give you the dates of all of the outer planet transits. They could be anywhere from a year for Jupiter to almost 20 years for Pluto, so you can see the long-term themes that are activating your chart, your life, personalized to your chart there at AnnieBClarity.com. If you want to know the dates for August, the sweet and salty ones, you really, really do want to know these dates, because this is one of the most important months to take action and to do important things. So you'll want to dance around the dicey aspects and really dive into those sweet ones. Go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash. When you put your name and email address in, you'll get the welcome letter in your inbox. Look in spam and social if you don't see it. Click on the archive link there, and you'll find all of my previous sendings or mailings, and you'll see the astrology for August. The sweet and salty dates are about midway down in that report, and then I extrapolate on those or expand on those in the second half of that very detailed report that I write myself. If you are time stamping over to another placement, look for the different chapters, and those will guide you. If you are done for now, then I will see you in my next report. Okay, bye for now. Oh, and before you go, if you are a Capricorn that is 23 degrees to the rest of the sign, or birthdays like January 15th through the rest of the sign, I suggest you continue listening for one more second to get to the Aquarius report, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, bye for now. Hello, Aquarius friends. All right, let's go into the lens of the August astrology sky that is just for you, Aquarius sun, moon, rising. Let's start out with this massive conglomeration in Leo energy. Mercury will get there pretty soon in the month. So we've got for short-term energies, Mercury, Hygeia, the sun, really lighting up your house of relationships in the short term, bringing your attention to the people in your life, known and yet unknown. If you have to meet new people or make new relationships or new connections, this is one of your best times for the whole year for that. August 8th through August 30th especially. But for a whole year, you've got an expansion to your networking section, your relationship section. So relationships you have can go to the next levels and new people may come in. From June of 2026 through July of 2027, Jupiter, the long-term placement, will be there, adding support to what's getting sparked now with these short-term energies. And of course, we've got the transiting South Node in Leo, speaking to this Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle that has been in process since early 2025 and has come up to the surface every 6 months. And here we are again with the Leo eclipse on August 12th at 20 degrees of Leo. It's a solar eclipse. Anything that happens in Leo is of extra importance for Aquarius because that's your opposing and complementary sign. We see the duality that's intrinsic in the human experience when we look at the astrology wheel, and then we see that every sign has its opposite or opposing or complementary sign, and every house has its opposing house, and everything moves in tandem. So when things are going on in the Leo sign in that 7th house, then they're activating things going on in the Aquarius sign in that 1st house, bringing up the me versus we. Aquarius people are having a very big transformation time over the years of this eclipse cycle series in your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, and the independence, interdependence, codependence storylines where you're trying to become more autonomous while also becoming deeper connected within your relationships and making all of that more functional. And all of these short and long-term transits in Leo, plus this eclipse, which is a solar eclipse, which is bringing new beginnings, is all part of that process. So you may be starting a brilliant new chapter in a relationship space, start a brilliant new relationship, and be going to the next level. If you haven't met your true love, this is one of the best times to do that this whole next year. It's good for everyone from the perspective of Jupiter being in the sign that rules true love, which is Leo. But it's extra great for Aquarius for the whole next year because it's moving through your house of relationships while it moves through the sign of true love. So, your relationships are really ready to expand. And Jupiter is additive. So if you haven't met your true love yet, Jupiter and these other transits can help you do that. If you have, maybe you get engaged, maybe you move in together, maybe you have children, maybe you have a business together. It's additive. So it's moving you through a continuum of the meeting and the expanding of important relationships, romantic, business, and otherwise. And a lot of that's being activated at this time. If you're single and want to not be, this is one of your best months for meeting new people and for deepening relationships that you already have. Finding ways to get deeper entrenched in your relationships in good ways that are mutually fulfilling while still holding that Aquarian independence, which is kind of a must. Aquarian people like to do their thing, their way, and it's not really that you just like to, you sort of just have to. You really beat to the sound of your own drum or the rhythm of your own drum, and this is something very important that is always a consideration for you in relationships. And so something is evolving there. As the short-term planets in Leo progress into Virgo, the Sun will get there, Venus is already there, Mercury will get there later in the month. We start to have an Earth party. Now the fire party, even though in some ways it's opposing the Aquarius energies, making you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, and it's sometimes hard to keep the balance, but sometimes that pulling in two different directions forces the balance. It's still a complementary relationship because the air and the fire speak a similar language, and it's all in a very nice flow. When the planets start moving into Earth, that's a little bit different for the energy of Aquarius. Now, you're so much more than just your Aquarius placement, so these Earth energies may speak very nicely to other parts of yourself, but just from the Aquarian parts of you, this is the land of taking material, tangible, direct, specific steps where you have to take things from the world of the ideas, from the mental plane, and put them into the physical plane. That's not always an easy process for some Aquariuses because you can have these meetings of the minds and speak to people and connect with people and build a world in your mind or through conversation or on paper. But the moving of that into the physical realm sometimes is a little bit difficult. And you will be feeling that as these planets get into Virgo. There will be things that are required to do that, either from other people or because of your own projects. but it is definitely a birthing process. And because you've got these great energies to bring things out in, you can really take advantage of the discipline, the organized nature of these placements. And they're moving through the 8th house of your very deep, entrenched, talk about entrenched. The 7th house is the house of partnerships. The 8th house is the house of partnerships with resources. So we're moving along this continuum of the relationships themselves and then the relationships with resources that get them more entangled, more complicated. And that's the evolution of what you have going on this month. So borrowing money, buying and purchasing important things, contractual things, winning money, legacy things, wills, things having to do with sweepstakes, or money coming from the government, or money coming from anywhere out of the blue. That's the house it's in. Venus is moving through there. So especially at the beginning of the month, you may have some extra good energy with finding money on the ground where there's nowhere around. You can be honest and give it back to somebody, where it's just for you that the universe is giving to you. So you may see that some financial things fall in your lap at this time. And if you need to do paperwork or something like that contractually, Mercury rules a lot of that. This could be a really, really good time for that. And if you need to borrow money, or you want to loan money, or you want to create something with legacies or wills or, trusts, this could be one of the best months of the whole year. And the Virgo energy can give you the discipline, determination, the organization to follow through some of those tedious paperwork things. You won't really have better energy for paperwork than you do right now. So if there's something you have to do at some point, this could be a good time. If you have to make contractual agreements, this is a great time. Weddings, engagements, things like that are also great this month, especially August 8th through 30th. You've got a little more time in the first week of the month with Mars moving through fellow air sign. And that's lighting up your 5th house of Leo. And Mars, where I always say, wherever Mars flows, obsession goes. And so you're taking action on these things. That adds to this Leo energy. Maybe you're finally ready to do something with your creative ideas. Bring them out into the world or do something important with them. And maybe you've been experimenting a little bit, because Gemini is very much like that. And as the month progresses, you might be getting more serious about narrowing down some things you've been kind of tasting into things you want to focus on more. It's a very reflective period when Mars moves into Cancer, and this is going to focus on your health and your healing and your wellness. So you might be moving into some focus of self-care from these other diverse interests that you've had for a little while. This could also be one of the best months of the year for giving an animal a forever home. When the energies are not retrograde and the shadow periods are not there, this is really a great time to make those long-term commitments like an animal requires. It doesn't mean you can't get an animal at any other time of the year. There's a flow with these things. These angels come to us in their perfect rhythm. But if you're actively going out and trying to weave those webs, as I was talking about in the intro, or, put your boats afloat in those areas, this could be one of the best months possible for making a long-term commitment to something with animals, because the stars are good, as I said, without having the retrogrades, and Mars is moving through your 6th house of animals and pets. So not only do we have the Leo eclipse, we also have a second eclipse cycle that is occurring in the days around August 27th through 28th, depending on your time zone. We've got the Pisces lunar eclipse at almost 5 degrees, and that's going to happen for you in your money sector, the 2nd house. Now that 8th house I was talking about, other people's money, there are short-term transits moving through there that are activating that sector, but the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that started at the end of 2024, we're in the second to last manifestation of something going on with Aquarius's my money versus our money, my stuff versus our stuff, zones that have been activated. There's something going on there. More autonomy financially from people helping you, more stepping away from toxic money and standing on your own 2 feet, or the opposite, more security and stability in your life because of merging resources with other people or getting support from other people. But whatever it is, there's some sort of ending in your own individual financial picture, and it may be in the favor of a blending. You may win money, you may have money come to you through some other way, you may inherit it, and it may take the pressure off of your individual earning, and there may be an idea that this is coming through, and it may take until 2027 for it to be settled. But there's something going on with this dance of your stuff versus other people's stuff, your autonomy versus merged money and resources. And this is a really, really good time to focus on the energy of manifesting, especially financial, material things, because this 8th house really helps you connect into that language of spirit, synchronicity, where the things that you need are out there and you become attuned to them. And one of the ways that I always talk about is through the reticular activating system, which is you telling your mind that you're looking for something, and then it removes filters that could be blocking the accepting in of the things you're looking for, where you're getting your brain and your being on the same page. Some of this is really, manifestation turns out to be in many ways physiological. It is magical in a lot of ways. It seems like it because it's like, wow, where is that coming from? But when you understand the workings of your mind more, you can see that manifestation in some ways is actually very much physiological. So, if you're trying to sort something out in your finances, this would be a good time to vocalize and to tell the universe or tell someone or ask for help. Try it if you need a loan, if you need, some other financial support. This could be one of the best times possible for that money to miraculously show up. There's something I haven't talked about in a long time. I'm probably going to spell it wrong. Okay, it's Pono, I think. H-O, there's an apostrophe there. Probably messing this up. O-P-O-N-O. And this is a healing prayer. It's a Hawaiian healing prayer. And it even, I believe, may even precede the people who came to Hawaii might have even been doing that before they even got to Hawaii. And I did look it up. I did spell it right. So this is something I haven't talked about in a while, but because of this 8th house of synchronicity being activated, and because of this storyline with the eclipses and the Pisces, water, that's the other, these water signs are really speaking this language of synchronicity where things are talking to us, but it's not always just people. There's basically signs and symbols and things coming through, numbers, numerical things, animals speaking very loudly. I have used the Ho'oponopono and I had the most amazing outcome that I always believe in this stuff, but I could not even believe what happened. There was something from a collapse of my business and my life that occurred when the markets collapsed in 2008, 2009, that I was left with, a problem with my credit that had been perfect prior to that. And I was in a stage where I needed to access money. I wanted to get a house, but I had debt that was unresolved and I needed capital to get it. And I did this prayer for 28 days. It's basically a self-forgiveness and repentance prayer, but it includes reconciliation, having to do with the effect that we have on others and how others affect us and how we're all one. And it has to do with healing and forgiving others and healing and forgiving ourselves. It's a very deep, very powerful prayer. It basically says, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Where you apply it to people, to situations, to yourself. And I did it for 28 days. Somehow in that time, all of the debt was dealt with. I settled it. All of the money, which was a massive amount, and at that time, the money was not as forthcoming as it has come to be now. But at that time, it wasn't. It really was a true miracle, where all the capital I needed to buy a house happened, and everything got set out that I needed. And then the income that I needed to sustain the new level of my life happened. And it happened after I did the 28 days of Ho'oponopono. So, I'm offering this to you. It's free. You don't need to do anything for it. You can look it up and understand it more, or you can just do what I already explained. And you may find some very rapid, very surprising, miraculous healing within relationships and within your financial realm, and even within wellness and other things in your life. But, really look to that place that is hidden and deep and spiritual and immaterial as it relates to the very material and obvious and mundane reality. Okay, so we've talked about the fact that Jupiter has changed signs recently. We've had Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, a little further back, Pluto. All of the outer planets have changed signs at some point pretty recently. If you want to know what that means for you, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B, clarity.com to see my outer planet transit report. It's a series of video reports that are aligned to your exact chart with the dates that are calculated exactly for your transits. These outer planets can have transits from anywhere from a year to up to 20 years through the different houses for you. So you can understand what these long-term themes mean for you and understand what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be learning. August is one of the most important months of the year for taking action and doing important things and putting your boats afloat and weaving your webs. If you want to align those even further with the best dates of the month, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, put your name and email address in there, get the welcome letter, and click on the archive link. Look for the August astrology, and you will find those dates midway down through that newsletter. And I expand upon all of that information with the best, the worst, the in-between, the what to know in the whole second half of that newsletter. If you are time stamping to another sign, great, I'll see you there. If you are a late degree Aquarius, so birthdays like February 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree of Aquarius placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you hang on here an extra second and go through the Pisces report with me as well, because you late degree friends will benefit from both readings. I'll see you in my next report. Bye. Hello, Pisces friends. Okay, welcome to your Pisces specific section where this is just for you. We're going to look at the August astrology through the lens of the Pisces, sun, moon, rising, whatever you're watching for. This is going to be a dimension of your experience, and a very important one that we're adding to what I discussed in the intro. So we're going to talk about some long-term aspects and short-term aspects and how they blend with your placements so that you can get a really good idea of the kind of things that will manifest and what you can do with this very important time. One of the star signs of the month is Leo. We've got Mercury about to be in Leo, moving from Cancer. We've got that short term. We've got Hygeia, short term. We've got the sun there, short term, zipping through the sign of Leo. This is Leo's season. This happens then adding to this long-term story of Jupiter just getting into Leo and being there now until the middle of 2027, now that it just got there at the end of June. Then we add to that long-term outer transiting mode in Leo, which was happening because of the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle, which has been in motion since the early part of 2025. So you've got all this short-term energy, all this long-term energy in Leo, which is bringing this zest, this fire. I always talk about when we have fire aspects, what does it do to a watery Pisces? It puts fire underneath your watery pot and bubbles everything up, for better and worse, but action-oriented it is. Now add to this 20-degree solar eclipse Leo, and now we've got a major fire party. So this is time for Pisces to do something with all of that creativity, which is represented by Pisces itself. And of course, we have an eclipse in your sign. We'll get to that. All of that inner world, all of that zest that you've been wanting to show people, that you've been working on in the backdrop. This could be a time when it's ready to come out, or major steps are being taken along those lines. August 8th through August 30th are some of the best dates of the entire year to do something brand new, to launch something, to do something you want to be in effect for a long time, something of major magnitude, big purchases, big sales, big launches, big changes, contracts, decisions. All of this has great energy during this time because we don't have the interference of the Mercury or Venus retrograde cycle or the shadow period. And the whole rest of the year will be covered in Venus retrograde or its shadow period. So that makes this month very important. And the retrogrades aren't bad. And there are plenty of things we can do. In fact, I've written a whole book that focuses a lot on that. And we'll talk about that more as we're in it. But for this month, we need to know this is the time to get busy, because you want to weave those webs that you're going to rely on for food during those slower, more introspective retrograde times. You want to blast some major steps out so that you can then go edit, work in the backdrop with the big projects that you are going to the next level of. Something new is being born, something creative, true love, something with children, those kind of milestones. And specifically for Pisces, something with your health and wellness, a daily routine that is yours to love Because if you have not been happy with what you've been doing every day and you don't feel engaged and inspired, this is a time when you can change all of that. You can even start taking a new route to work or school. You can make a change with your home or office or your workspace. You can get a different job, change of scenery. Something in your daily experience wants zest, wants inspiration, and really needs it and demands it at this time. And all of that bubbling up from the eclipse season and from the fire energies are really making you ready to make it happen. Mercury may bring news and information, also the chance for those types of contracts like I talked about. Engagements, weddings, big events have a lot of great energy at this time. Remembering though that the eclipses sometimes on August 12th is one of them and the other is the 27th and the 28th. We'll get to that. But giving a little room with those dates because trying to do something on the actual eclipse, this may be a little different for your time zone, so just check that out if you need to. Sometimes if we're planning something or doing something big, we may want to give a little room away from the intensity of the exact eclipse dates. But either way, this is a time for radical change, something that you can implement and take the bull by the horns, something that you can take from your internal space and make it active, or it may just be coming to you. Eclipses are very well known for making things happen that are completely out of your control, that maybe you wanted, that are manifesting, or maybe you didn't want and feared that are happening anyway, but there's a fated level of this. It's something that has been pending or that is destined, and most of the time we actually can't control it or have any say in it. But within that, we do have some wiggle room with how we experience it and how we work with the energies, and that's what we can play with. So this is a really good time to really just take the bull by the horns and do important things. Plus, right from the beginning of the month, we have Venus in Virgo. The sun will get there. Mercury will get there into Virgo. And this is going to be your opposing sign. But this is also the energy of doing something tangible with emotions and ideas. You won't have better energy for a while for discipline, for organization, for paperwork, for trying to get something done that is tedious and needs focus. So this 7th house of relationships is being activated by these short-term Virgo movements, and it's adding to this storyline of the eclipse cycle that has been in process since the end of 2024. We're at the second to last manifestation of this now, with the last one being in the beginning of 2027 of the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. So you all have been in the hot seat since then. Every 6 months or so, big drama coming up, storylines, trajectory shifts, major mega changes in your relationship space, with your personal space, with your physical body, things going on with, your inner world, your outer world, the mundane reality, the spiritual realm, psychological space, addictions, the gold of your psyche, which is, the ancestral goodness that we have that we can activate in our DNA, and also the challenge things that may have been holding you back, karma. Whatever it is, something's coming to a close, as on August 27th or 28th, we have this almost 5-degree Pisces lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses tend to bring endings to a chapter, to a storyline, to a situation. Something's closing out in your inner realm of Pisces. Maybe the closing out of something in your inner realm is something you've been working on in behind closed doors is coming out. Maybe there's a big launch this month, and that would be perfect energy. And maybe this is manifesting in the 1st house, as that is where it is for Pisces, your physical body. Maybe you're birthing something physically, like a baby. Maybe you're birthing a new way of being, or showing up in the world in a different way, a new identity, a new way of being. All of that is happening. And all of the Pisces are in the hot seat, but you early degree Pisces. So this is going to be February born Pisces, 0 to 10 degrees. In the most hot seat, the closer you are to 5 degrees, the more. So like birthdays from February 19th through the rest of February, and the closer to around the 24th or so, in a few days around there, you may be getting a direct hit from there. So if you have any Pisces placements there, you are more likely going to see something very tangible and obvious, or feel something very, very obvious in your internal realm. Now, it doesn't mean that the March-born Pisces are out of it. Certainly not. But sometimes it's more subtle. Sometimes it's more in the inner plane. Sometimes it's less obvious or less dramatic if you're not getting an exact hit. But you're watching these polarities be at play? Me versus we, my inner world versus my outer world. Those are the kind of questions that you'll be seeing come up. And if you think back to the beginning of 2015 through the first half of 2017 and the beginning of 2006 through the first half of 2008, you had this cycle happen then. What kind of things changed in your relationships, in your inner world? Did you come out as, an architect, graduate from school, and now you want to be defined as something else within your role in society? Is there something else that's going on where there's healing of something that happened in your childhood or birth trauma, something like that, or dramatic clearing of karma within your relationship space? So those dates, you can think back to then. If something bad happened then, it doesn't mean something bad will happen now, because the stars are different now than they were then. These are just themes that kind of show you how that dance between the house placements and the sign placements can bring up the themes that come back around. Did I give you the dates for that August 12th Leo eclipse? March 2025 through early 2028. We've got that in flux. Those are the ones that are affecting that 6th and 12th house, which, interestingly, the 6th and 12th house relate to Pisces, because Pisces rules the 12th house, but Pisces has Aquarius there. And the 6th house, which is the Virgo house, but Pisces has Leo there. So the Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle is actually activating the houses of the signs that the Pisces Virgo eclipse is activating in the sign, because you're getting a double Pisces Virgo story, first through the sign and now through the house as well. So you're really doing double duty on your inner world and your outer world, and the spiritual versus the mundane, and the artistic versus the practical, the spiritually and emotionally soul necessity type of stuff versus food and eating and daily routine and wellness, and your wellness of your emotional and spiritual realm versus the wellness of your physical body. All of those things are being activated, and you can think back to early 2017 through early 2019, and then early 2008 through the end of 2009 to kind of see how are your inner and outer world and those other realms being affected at that time. How was the Leo and Aquarius polarity affecting you, where the Leo is your creativity and your personal unique expression versus the group consciousness of Aquarius, the commitment to a community or the greater good versus your own individual flow? How was that storyline activating then? And how is that storyline activating now? Because we are looking very much at, for Pisces, what is unique to you, what is individual to you, and how you can keep that in your relationships, your one-on-one relationships and your group dynamics. How you can hold your own unique vibration while still merging with other individuals and other groups, and being able to vibrate your heart song so loudly that it stays unique and individual no matter how much deeper you go into those relationships. We're also going to have blessings from Mars moving through fellow water sign, starting around August 7th, going until September 29th. Mars will get to Cancer and will move through your 5th house of Leo. Wherever Mars goes, obsession flows, is my little saying. So you're going to get a boost to all of these individual creative efforts by the fact that Mars is going to move through the house that is ruled by Leo. And you may find that you're very gung-ho about things that you were lackadaisical about before, or felt disempowered about before, that you feel ready and able and willing to do something about. All of the outer planets have changed signs recently. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, a little further back, Pluto. If you want to know how that affects your personal chart, get my personal video report for your chart at anniebclarity.com. Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, and get my outer planet transit report package that has a bunch of videos that are fine-tuned for your chart. The outer planets can have transits anywhere from a year up to 20 years. And you can see how these very long-term transits are affecting your decisions, your evolution, and really making, a lot of mischief and opportunities in ways that are harder for you to notice because they're the outer planets. So you can see that. If you want to make the most of this, one of the best months of the whole year for taking action, go to anniehelpsyou.com. Click on Unleash. Put your name and email address in to get access to my star report, which is free. my August star report, you'll get the welcome letter into your inbox. Just click on the archive and you'll see the August report there. The dates are about midway down, and the whole second half of that long newsletter that I write myself is really focused on those sweet dates, those salty dates, and what you can do with them. If you are a Pisces that is late degree, so birthdays like March 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Pisces placements through the rest of the sign, then timestamp back to the Aries report, because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. So if you're timestamping somewhere else, I'll see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you in another report. Bye for now.